for the mouse. But then, why should they? The plankton of mammals. They breed rapidly. They all look identical, and they once spread the plague. No one weeps for the mouse, for its life is worth less than zero. Just another cold fact of life on this horrifying planet.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us right here if you want. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have Skype, and the Skype username is LRN.FM. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian and Darryl as normal, but our other Friday night co-host, who's normally with us, is out at a convention this weekend. Chris from ThinkPenguin.com.
Yeah, where is he? Colorado or Washington?
Know. He's all over the place. He's got a lot of stuff that he does for Think Penguin. Goes to all those Linux conventions hither and thither.
Bellevue, Washington.
Okay.
I remember because he was saying, it's out in the middle of nowhere, and it's very difficult to get to.
And so joining us tonight, Kallen Diggs is here. Hey, Kallen.
Hey, Ian.
Finally, we get you on the show. You moved up to New Hampshire a few years ago. What year was it that you moved up here?
That was the summer of 2011.
Wow, was that long?
Yeah, actually, initially I started off in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, in the Lakes region.
Okay.
And then afterwards, in August, I started living in Nashua.
And you got in touch with me, and you'd been interested in doing radio, and you've got your own podcast called Reaching the Finish Line, and you can go to reachingthefinishline.com to get that. And there's a book as well.
Indeed.
And
same title.
Listeners of LRN.FM probably recognize your voice because your show is one of the great liberty-oriented podcasts that we air over on LRN.FM. But now you weren't mobile when you were in Nashua. You didn't have a car, so you weren't able to easily come out this way. So we never actually got to meet just because it just never worked out that way. There are that many people in New Hampshire who care about liberty, and it's easy to just get involved in stuff in one area. Then you ended up moving down to Texas and then Mexico.
Yeah,
right?
I was in Austin for about a little over 2 years, and I kind of went down there at the wrong time because that was the real estate boom, and I guess I was part of it because there was like 1,500 people moving there every week.
Wow!
And because at that point, when I first moved down there, it was like 2 jobs for every one person because a lot of Apple was moving there.
It's like lots of hiring.
Yeah, indeed. So, but I got tired from that, and I moved to Mexico.
And you were how long in Mexico?
More or less a year and a half.
A year and a half
altogether. Yeah.
And how much Spanish did you know when you went down there?
Basic at best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very elementary. But Duolingo was very helpful. People who don't know it is
Duolingo.
Yes,
that's an app.
Yes, is an app. It's free.
Really?
Web app, mobile app, and you could pretty much learn any language on there. And besides the high school and university classes I had, I also subscribed to Duolingo, and that was very helpful. And everything else in Spanish I kind of picked up when I was there.
That's awesome. I love the idea of the kind of immersion learning. I wish I had paid more attention in Spanish class, but I cheated in Spanish too, and so I was pretty crippled when I went down to Mexico to visit.
But you were also in a tourist area where
I was.
My limited experience with Mexico is in the tourist areas. Pretty much everybody speaks English.
That wasn't my experience. Not at your typical cheap restaurant or whatever. If you go to the expensive restaurant, then yes, their waiters are likely to speak English. But if you're just at a taqueria, then no English.
And again, my limited experience with Mexico was about 5 hours in Tijuana.
Okay.
And all of the street vendors.
That's right across the border.
Yeah. It is right across the border, but it's also a tourist area. And, the street vendors were all pitching their wares
in English. That makes sense. That makes total sense. In Acapulco, definitely still a tourist area, no doubt about it, where we were, but not as consistent, I don't think, as Tijuana.
It's more like I like to say like a Miami-style city.
What, Acapulco?
Yeah.
Did you spend some time down there?
Yeah, I was there for the conference, not the previous one, but the one before that.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I stayed a week down there.
Yes, because we didn't meet at this year's in Acapulco because you weren't able to be there for us.
Right.
But here you are now. You've come back to New Hampshire, which is wonderful, and it's your first time in Keene.
Got to be back home
for the last couple of days, and it's great to finally have you here on Free Talk Live. So we've got stuff to talk about here tonight, and we're going to get into that. Mm-hmm. So let's start with Barret Brown, because I think it's important to do this update. And then coming up,
right,
Darryl,
because what was it, last Friday we talked about Barret Brown getting arrested.
That's right. Now, can you recap briefly who Barret Brown is for listeners who don't know?
Yeah, Barret Brown is a journalist, and he was originally facing 100 years in prison for posting a link from one chat room on the internet into another chat room on the internet. And because that link was a link over to some hacked documents, then for some reason, even though he did not do the hacking and he was not publishing the material, he was facing basically hacking charges.
Right.
Again, facing 100 years. He wound up taking a plea. They dropped the major charges against him, and he wound up being sentenced to, I believe, 5 years.
I don't recall, but he spent a few years in federal prison.
Yes.
Right? And then he got out, and the most recent update on Barret Brown was, about a week ago maybe?
About a week ago, where
he got snatched up.
He was checking in with his probation officer. He was scheduled to record an interview with, I believe, PBS the following day.
Yep.
And
they disappeared him.
He did not fill out the proper forms to get permission to do interviews with the media, he wound up being picked up and taken somewhere.
Right.
When he called his mother, he apparently did not know exactly where he was.
Because apparently when you're on federal probation, and I don't know if this is standard federal probation, because different probations can have different parameters around it. So I don't know how standard this is, but they basically had him on the equivalent of the communications management unit outside. So when you're in federal prison, there is what they call the CMU, and that's where they put Ross Ulbricht from the Silk Road, for instance, as I understand it. In fact, we're actually going to have, just as an aside, Lynn Ulbricht is coming on the show tomorrow night.
Yay!
So we're going to get an update from her, and apparently there's some terrible book out that's bad-mouthing her son.
Yes.
And she wants to talk about that. But anyway, they put...
And just based on the title, you can decrypt several lies.
It's like
just
an American...
based on the...
Was it like American Drug Lord or something like that?
American Kingpin.
Okay.
And then, like on the cover, it said, dangerous something, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, none of the things that Ross was convicted of had any victims.
Right. Yeah, so we're going to talk to her about that tomorrow. But I bring up Ross because he, as I understand it, was or is in the communications management unit. And that's where every piece of mail that comes into or out of the unit is reviewed by by the staff of the prison.
Yes.
They listen to every phone call, and there's restrictions on what you can and can't talk about. So it's not your typical.
You're able to talk to.
Yeah. Normally those are some things that you'll find in prisons. So in prison in New Hampshire, you can only have certain people visit you or whatever. But communications management unit is like almost complete lockdown on your ability to communicate.
Right, but when I say who you're allowed to talk to, they'll restrict who you can call on the phone.
Yeah.
Whereas, some prisons, as long as the person accepts a collect call. Right. But, my understanding of the CMUs, they'll restrict who you can call. They'll also restrict who you can send mail to and who can send mail to you.
Exactly. So it's sort of like what's happened to Barret Brown is, you're out of prison, but you're still on probation. And one of the terms of the probation is you can't do interviews unless you ask permission first. So this man does not have the freedom of speech. Correct. Even though he's no longer in, behind bars. I mean, the bars are extending basically over his mouth.
Right. And, that's kind of what probation is.
I've never heard of that restriction, though.
Right. No, I'm not talking about that specific restriction, but probation is you're no longer locked up in this cage. You're just in
a bigger cage.
An open-air prison.
Right.
That's what probation is.
And I've heard some ridiculous and outrageous probation restrictions, like, you can't even be in a house that has a beer in it, no alcohol whatsoever. Even if it's, if your parents' house and your dad's got a beer in the fridge, if the probation officer shows up and searches the house, then you get a violation of probation.
Yep.
Even if you didn't even know that. So Barret Brown, actually, he's out. So, like, what we reported on originally was that he just disappeared. Now he's out, and he's written about his experience over the last week. We'll share that with you coming up. 855 450 free. You can bring up anything as well. It's Free Talk Live.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-940-9829. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-940-9829. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-940-9829. That's 1-800-940-9829.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply, or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now, earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can dial toll free. You can bring up whatever you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. Coming up, apparently Donald Trump signed some kind of religious freedom executive order, but the ACLU saying it was just a photo op. And Darryl, you've got that story. That's on the way here tonight. If we get the chance, Venezuela, which I've been teasing for a week at this point, so hopefully we can talk about that as well. But there's so many interesting stories in the news and so little time. And, of course, open phones every night here on Free Talk Live where you can get involved. And you can bring up anything that you want. We've got Skype as well. Our Skype username is lrn.fm. Should you wish... Oh, please.
I was going to say, Ian, I like to call him Donald Duck.
Donald Duck.
Yeah.
He is a quack.
That's an insult to Donald Duck and all of the other Looney Tunes.
That's true. You're right, Darryl. I'm sorry, Donald Duck.
The MyPillow, by the way, is an amazing product. I use it every night, and I have for approximately a year. Darryl, you also have the MyPillow. You can get yours at half off by going to MyPillow.com. Use code FTL, like Free Talk Live, and that allows you to get MyPillow, and you can actually try it out for 60 days. If for some reason you don't agree, you don't think it's the best pillow you've ever used, you don't like it for some reason, you can send it back, and they'll give you your money back. Plus, if you keep it, then you can feel good because it's guaranteed to last for 10 years. It's a great pillow because it's designed to fit to the shape of your body and hold your neck in the proper position. And it's also washable. You can put it in your washer and the dryer. Just go to MyPillow.com. Use code FTL, like Free Talk Live. That's code FTL to get yours at 50% off or 2 for the price of 1. Again, MyPillow.com, code FTL. So back to the story here, or we're going to get into it, about Barret Brown, the reporter who went to federal prison for posting a link in a chat room.
Yes.
He did not create the link. He did not create the website that the link links to. He did not put the content up on the website that the link linked to.
He did not provide the content to the person that put it up.
He's just a reporter. And he was doing what he thought was his job and reporting on some interesting news about, I think it was Stratfor Communications?
Stratfor, yes.
There was a contractor for the government or the military or something like
that. A lot of...
they were hackers.
Big corporations, banks, things of that sort.
Yeah, and they were contracted to do like hacking operations or something like that. So anyway, they punished him for this, and now he's out on probation, went to his probation office, and let's give him have him the opportunity to tell the story. The story from dmagazine.com. He writes, the lead up to my recent re-arrest by the U.S. Marshals Service and subsequent illegal 4-day detention, a detention that only ended after one of the nation's most prestigious law firms threatened to go to a judge, began a week prior. On Thursday, April 20th, I walked into the Volunteers of America halfway house in Hutchins, Texas, for my biweekly case manager meeting with Victoria Dean, a VOA staffer. That's Volunteers of America. In the course of our conversation, I noted I was doing an interview with Vice the next day and that PBS would be coming a week later. Dean, remember he has to tell the bureaucrats that he's doing interviews. Dean asked me if I had checked with the Bureau of Prisons about that. And I replied that I had not, as I was not required to do so. As I explained to her then, the Bureau of Prisons Program Statement on News Media Contacts is the relevant policy document. It does not give the BOP the right to interfere with an inmate's access to the press. Dean said the BOP requires halfway house staffers to notify them when a resident is about to speak to the press. I told her that was fine and left. Later that afternoon, Dean called me at home and said she'd spoken to BOP Representative Luz Lujan, who had said that I was required to fill out some forms before any interview, and that media representatives would have to do likewise. I told her that I would do so as soon as the program statement granting the BOP the right of prior review was provided to me. The next morning, the crew from Vice met me at D Magazine, and we began shooting for an episode of Cyber War.
So let me sort of break down one of those sentences a little easier. He basically said, I'll fill out the form when you show me the policy saying that
I have to.
I'm required to do so.
Right. That's a reasonable request.
Yes.
Because a lot of times bureaucrats will just make crap up.
Yes.
Like Kallen, you just experienced this at the DMV where the bureaucrat there told you, oh, yeah, this document you have saying you're living at this place signed by the landlord, that's not good enough. Yeah. You need to get a lease, and you need to go to Concord because you're in Keene and you have no car. So how you're supposed to get to Concord, I'm not real sure.
Or a valid driver's license.
Exactly. How can I get the comfort? Yeah, exactly.
Right, you're trying to renew a driver's license that has expired from New Hampshire because, again, you've been out of the country for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so the bureaucrat just lied to you, saying you had to go to Concord. You found this out because you called Concord today.
Thanks to you.
Well, I suggested that you do that.
Yeah.
But, and then you talked to a supervisor?
Yeah, I talked to Jeff O'Burbank. I guess I'm making him famous now.
And he told you what?
And he told me that he asked me. He said, do I have my passport? Is it expired? I said no. He said, do you have a birth certificate? And he said, make sure that it's either a copy or either a certified copy or original, which I had. Yeah. And then he said the notarized letter, which I told him I had. And he said, yeah. He said, I don't know why they would deny you. So he told me that he will talk to them, and that when I go on Monday, I guess they'll already get the memo.
Hopefully they will treat you the way they're supposed to treat you. Instead of looking at your address, which is this studio that you're staying here, but looking at that and giving you a strange response.
Yeah.
So the suggestion is that maybe because you're associated with us, that's why they're giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
So anyway, they lied to you. She just lied to you.
They did, and a lot of times these government officials are held to almost no accountability.
Right.
And they could just exercise their power trips and just treat people like inferior citizens.
And you escalated it to a higher level, and luckily you found somebody who was helpful. That's not everyone's experience with bureaucracy, right? Like going up to a higher level isn't like being at a business where the management might care a little bit more. In a lot of cases, the bureaucrats don't help at higher levels, but in this case they did. So we'll see what happens Monday.
I think every now and then, when you go up the food chain a little bit, especially if they get the same complaint over and over, then they'll be like, you know what? I'm tired of getting these complaints. Change it.
I've actually had the higher-ups in Concord in New Hampshire, the bureaucrats there, be helpful on a couple of occasions where the lower-level people weren't. So I've had a similar experience. And, maybe it's because New Hampshire is just a smaller place and people are a little bit friendlier as well. Like, I've talked to bureaucrats out in Montana, and they tend to be pretty friendly there. So, like, when the bureaucrats are less anonymous and they're more likely to actually, see you at the grocery store, that kind of thing, I think they don't have that kind of nasty edge as much, as often.
Yeah, it's like almost like the invisible guilt. Like, I better treat him nice because I'm going to see him at Market Basket.
He's my neighbor. Yeah, right. Whereas if you're in this big city where, you never see these people in real life, they're just like, next. They don't care. They give you an attitude, and they're just nasty. So anyway, that's sort of similar to what was happening with Barret here, and we're going to continue.
And it's interesting because, the state is doing, I guess we'll talk about later, is they're ruining his career. He's a journalist. That's what he does for a living.
Right.
And if he has to be control of what interviews he does, that may hurt the rest of his career, possibly.
Yeah, then he's at their beck and call, whether or not he has the ability to even conduct an interview. And so, again, he's calling him out. He's saying, show me the law. Show me your policy. I want to see it before I start jumping through these hoops. 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733, Free Talk Live.
Being self-reliant is about being prepared and to do what you need to have your own source of renewable energy. Portable Solar LLC offers the most powerful EMP-hardened solar system on the market that is transportable from place to place, and the best part, it's very affordable. Contact them at portablesolarllc.com or call for details at 972-575-8875. Sol Arc EMP-hardened solar generator energy insurance for your family or business. Call Portable Solar LLC today or go to portablesolarllc.com to check out their patent-pending technology.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com, virtual care anywhere.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers, and some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with agoristhosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to agoristhosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting, that's AGORIST, hosting.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Uncertainty has become the talking point when it comes to financial markets. One thing is becoming certain: safe haven assets. Hard assets are now becoming the choice of informed investors. The most recognized and valued hard asset is gold. The highest performing asset this year is gold. Trust gold to protect and grow your IRA or 401k. Central banks and billionaires are doing the same thing. Choose a more stable asset that has tremendous upside potential. As these uncertain times threaten the markets, your decision to reduce your exposure to these markets before further negative effects to your portfolio would be well timed. Call 1-800-GOLD-IRA to transfer your existing IRA into an actual physical gold and silver IRA. American Bullion is the pioneer of gold IRAs. They handle all the details for you. Call 1-800-GOLD-IRA to get prepared. Start protecting and growing your IRA and 401k before the next crash. American Bullion. 1-800-GOLD-IRA.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll-free here. Bring up what you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. You can Skype in here at username LRN.FM. And you can bring up anything you want. We're going to talk more about Barret Brown here in moments, the reporter who was recently re-arrested for ostensibly not informing the Bureau of Prisons that he was going to be doing interviews. Yes. And we're going to tell you more about that coming up here.
And they also would not give him the documentation or the policy saying that he actually had to inform the prison that he was going to be doing interviews.
Right. And so we're going to continue that discussion. Also, want to let you know about HostGator, which is where you can go to get your web hosting taken care of. Maybe you already have a website, but you're tired of your current host. Maybe they're not treating you right. Maybe there's too much downtime. You want to move? Well, they're one of the top hosting companies over at HostGator. You go to HostGator.com/FTL, and you can save 50% off of their regular prices. That's HostGator.com/FTL, like Free Talk Live. They've got a simple one-click, easy installation for WordPress. They've got 24/7 over the phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive and user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation and the simplicity of use into your hands. Plus a 99.99% uptime rating, so you don't have to worry about outages. At HostGator, because you're a Free Talk Live listener, you save 50%. That's 5050. HostGator.com/FTL. Let's go to the phones, to the fun. We got Liberty Lover in Ohio. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Liberty Lover. Oh, Liberty Lover, is he there? Going once.
Sorry about that.
There you are. All right.
All right. Have you seen the bill that's currently going through Congress for healthcare?
No, I have not. Darryl?
No.
Kallen?
No.
I'm aware that they're calling it the American Healthcare Act.
Which is the same name.
That's all I'm aware of.
Isn't that the same name?
No.
Is the Obamacare?
That was the Affordable Care Act.
Oh. Also ACA, though. Or no,
this one is ACH.
American Healthcare Act. AHC. No, AHA. Gotcha.
AHCA.
Right. It looks like the Republicans have always wanted to repeal Obamacare, but what they fail to mention is that this is basically the same bill.
Okay, so you've actually been looking at it?
Some of the provisions in it, yes. Apparently, from what I've seen, it's literally just Obamacare without an individual mandate, and it does not require insurance companies to take people with quote-unquote pre-existing conditions.
Well, okay. I mean, some people are going to say those are some pretty major changes, but I guess I see what you're saying.
The interesting thing is that back in the 90s, it was the Republicans that came up with the individual mandate.
Right.
They
came up with that idea.
I believe Switzerland has an individual mandate. I never understood the point of it. Was there actually any, purpose for an individual mandate?
To force people to sign up for health insurance and force
if you
business.
don't, then you have to pay a fine to the IRS.
I believe one of the original purposes of an individual mandate is apparently there would be less of a gap between sick people and healthy people getting insurance, and that would apparently drive costs down.
Well, the thing is, the costs have gone up because of all the mandates and the mandated coverage and so on and so forth.
Right, and not only was it, mandated that you have to buy health insurance, the insurance companies were told you can't charge people extra because of pre-existing conditions. You can't charge people extra because of various health factors.
So they just charged everyone extra.
You have to charge everybody the same.
Yeah. Which means more because they've got to pay for all those pre-existing conditions.
Right.
And also remember, if you're running a business and all of a sudden the government says, now everyone on this plot of land must buy from your business, or at least from your industry, and there's only 2 players in the industry.
Right, because you can't buy across state lines.
Right.
So you could not call up a Vermont health insurance company and ask about their policy. They'd, no, sorry, Mr. Freeman, you have to call agent so-and-so that works in Concord.
And there's only like 2 companies in New Hampshire that'll sell health insurance for the most part. So you basically have no options. And so if there are no real choices, then both of those companies know, well, now all of a sudden, if we only had, let's say, 25% of the population, I'm just pulling a number, I don't know what percentage had health insurance. Well, now you're going to have probably 75 to 100%, somewhere in that range, because some people just aren't going to follow through.
Right.
But, a whole bunch more people are going to become your customers. You can raise rates because you've got guaranteed business. It was like when I lived in Florida, before I moved to New Hampshire, they had a mandate that everyone had to buy car insurance.
Right.
And a lot of states have this. New Hampshire is one of the states that does not.
I think New Hampshire is the only state
the only
that
one?
does not.
The only state, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so when I moved here, my car insurance rates went down by like $200 per, I don't know if it was per half a year or per year or whatever, but it was a significant drop for the exact same coverage. And that's because there's just more competition if the businesses know they can't be guaranteed your business.
Right.
So anyway, that's some of the reasons why healthcare prices have been driven up by the government's mandates.
Well, one of the arguments I hear when it comes to abolishing the state line gap is a lot of liberal leaning people will tell me, well, that's just an excuse for the insurance companies to move to states where they will be taxed the least so they can avoid paying higher taxes.
Good.
I hear that all the time.
That sounds great.
And I'm always called a heartless person for this by almost everybody. It's pretty common a libertarian gets called heartless.
What would advocating for choice in insurance companies be heartless? How is that heartless?
Well, it was a different aspect of health insurance. I see no problem with charging somebody that is sick more money for their health insurance because that makes them more of a liability. It costs more money to take care of somebody that is more likely to be sick.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, you're just such a heartless person. These insurance companies could afford to swallow this kind of thing. And it almost makes me wonder if health insurance companies, incentivize getting sick.
Yeah. Probably. But then there's also the thing to where people will give, like one example of, well, the health insurance company, they could wind up spending an extra $20,000 on this person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how many people are you saying that they need to spend $20,000 on this person? Sooner or later, that starts to build up, and then there's no profits at all. It's the same sort of thing to where a lot of times people will break down what a CEO of McDonald's makes per hour, and they're like, and they can't figure out how to pay people $15 an hour. And so I've done the math before.
Yeah.
Looked up how many employees does McDonald's have, divide, number of hours, etc., and then break out what the CEO makes. And you can only get
like a 7 cents raise or something like that.
15 was what I saw for one of them.
And so each employee could get 15 cents an hour.
Each employee could get 15 cents per hour, and the CEO would make zero.
Yeah. And you know that's not going to happen.
Well, I'd like to address the issue.
It just shows that people don't understand how math works on a large scale.
Or economics or any of that. Just to address the issue of being mean to people or not caring about folks. The health insurance situation, the idea that these health insurance companies, money doesn't grow on trees, right? So there's only so much money going into that health insurance company, and they can only spend so much out on claims. It's not to say that the people who are running the health insurance company are a bunch of monsters. It's to say that maybe health insurance isn't the right answer for everyone. Mm-hmm. Okay, right. Maybe health insurance should only be for people who are relatively healthy and need, some catastrophic care coverage. But because there have been all these mandates put down on the industry and mandates put down on people, they're forcing all kinds of people into a program that might not be right for them. Maybe there's other options out there like charity.
Indeed.
What about the Shriners or, some of these other organizations?
St. Jude.
I mean, there's so many different groups out there. Liberty Lover, thanks for calling in here tonight. There's more coming up here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE.
Bitcoin.com is the most unique online destination in the Bitcoin universe. Buying Bitcoin? Do it here. Want to speak your mind to other Bitcoin users? Our forum is always open and censorship-free at forum.bitcoin.com. There's no bigger Bitcoin believers than the Bitcoin.com team. That's why this site is a one-stop shop for everything you need to get into Bitcoin life. You can also play games at games.bitcoin.com. Learn more at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business. So make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Procter & Gamble introduced a beginner series of its Bounty paper towel brand this week, specifically designed to assist novices in acclimating to the household cleaning product. The new entry-level paper towels will reportedly feature bold labels and guide markers clearly printed on the surface of each sheet, as well as a step-by-step instructional DVD in each package.
Make sure that your paper towel is directly on top of the stain and not beside the stain. Otherwise, you won't absorb any liquid. Place your paper towel directly on the stain and make a gentle wiping motion.
In this week's local news, an area man knows that deep down, he's not done vomiting. In other news, Los Angeles residents are plagued by a roving pack of feral celebrities living in the Hollywood Hills. God wonders what happens to humans after they die. And a local dad clarifies that this is not a food stop. I was told early on that I would never be able to procreate, but I imagine the cold, dejected sensation I experience at the end of this news summary is similar to what a father feels when holding a child of his own flesh and blood.
This is the Onion News Network.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live shows 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial toll free. Join us on the radio. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's me, Ian.
Kallen.
And Darryl.
And that's right, Kallen is with us here. Kallen Diggs, the host and the author of Reaching the Finish Line. You can go to reachingthefinishline.com to get a lot more of Kallen on some of the topics that he thinks is important. You wanted to actually add to the discussion about healthcare and insurance and other options.
Yeah, I was saying, if we could take government out of healthcare and, basically just make it more of a free market, because there's a lot of countries like that, especially it gives people an opportunity, like expats, to go to another country, get their health care done there, and pay anywhere between 50 to 65% less. So to give you an example, a lot of people get dental work done, and that's where I got dental cleaning. And typically in the U.S.
In Mexico?
Yes.
Okay.
I got dental cleaning in Mexico, San Miguel de Allende. Typically a dental cleaning in the U.S., I kind of checked around the country, is about $127.
Okay, yeah.
In Mexico, I paid $26.
Wow. Nice.
And the doctor, she studied in the U.S., but she just wanted to come back home. So basically I'm getting a U.S., basically a graduate well-trained from the U.S., got a degree there, and she decides to come back. So anybody can get the same quality of care in most cases and pay significantly less.
So you're saying the waiting room wasn't dirty, filthy?
No, not at all. And the thing
did they speak English?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I
think a lot of people have preconceived notions. The reason I asked that question, I knew it was going to be nice and clean, but the reason I asked that question is because a lot of people have preconceived notions about other countries, especially Mexico, as though they're somehow inferior.
Mexico is one of them third world countries. That means backward. No, third world just means they did not take a side during the Cold War. They were not aligned with the U.S. or Russia. That's what third world means.
Huh.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah, first world nations are those that were allied with the United States.
Huh.
And second world are those countries that were allied with Russia. Third world means you were not allied with either during the Cold War. But some people think that it means, non-industrialized nation, someplace where, there's starvation and famine all the time. That's not what it means.
That's how it's used, typically.
I can definitely tell you there's a lot of well-developed cities in Mexico. There are a lot of cities like that even Americans don't know about. I've been to several cities like Querétaro, which is kind of very similar to Philadelphia in some respects, and these other cities like Cuernavaca, they call it the city of eternal spring. And by far, I love that city. That city, the weather is perfect all year round. And but these cities are very well developed. They have
infrastructure,
5-star hotels. Yep. They have Montessori schools. They have the big box stores. Yep. They have again, you can get a lot of the same surgeries you get done in the U.S. down there as well.
For a fraction of the cost.
Exactly, and they even do some of the procedures that are still banned banned here in the U.S.
Oh wow!
Like things like stem cell fusion. By state, it's not legal in every state, but in a place like Mexico, it's legal throughout the country.
Mm-hmm. So how would one go to learn more about that stuff? You just kind of have to, are there websites that can hook you up?
That's a good question. I would go and Google type in medical tourism, Mexico, the country you want to go to. Yep. And I would advise that, if a person is going on vacation, they could just kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Right.
They can go down there and get dental work done. They can get blood work done.
Take it easy for a week or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got my blood work done and paid half of what I would pay here in the U.S. Basically, you can get anything. You can get thyroid panels, you can get adrenal panels, basically whatever you want. You could you can pay half or even more than that.
And I've heard of people doing medical tourism to Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's where it's the cheapest. It's the cheapest
so,
there.
Go if you need, say, like a knee replacement.
Yep.
Apparently, it is cheaper to fly to like the Philippines,
stay in a nice hotel for a week or 2
weeks,
and
have the surgery there, and then fly back than it is to go through the American healthcare system.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
And you'll save money on top of that.
Yeah. Even if you pay the fine, you'll still save money. It'll still be cheaper, rather.
It's amazing. Yeah, we've heard about some of that stuff too, and there's even like you said, dental tourism.
Yeah.
I know Ademo Freeman from Cop Block did the same thing that you did. He went down to Mexico and he had a tooth pulled or something like that. And it was just cheaper and just as good.
Yeah, and they also take their time with you. It's not like sometimes I have to go to the doctor here in the U.S.
Yeah, people feel rushed.
Yeah, it's like it's just like you're a dot. It's like 3 minutes to the next person.
Yep.
And it's like there's no kind of one-on-one personalized self-care to show that the doctor really wants to help the patient and understand how to get healed them best. It's just like one after another.
And the last couple of times I've gone to doctors, there's always been a nurse that comes in, ask me questions, write some stuff down. All right, the doctor will be in a couple minutes. Doctor comes in,
looks at the sheet,
and then asks me the same questions. It's like, did you not read what the nurse wrote? Or are you just trying to see if I'm lying about why I'm here?
I think they use that system a lot of times just to give the doctor a shorter time window. So basically, if she has he has all the information they need, they can just say, okay, you need this, okay, goodbye, and the next one. And you start the cycle.
But why ask me the same questions that the nurse asked?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of inefficiencies in the medical system, especially in the United States, where we've talked to people in the past who've worked in doctors' offices, and they've basically said their job was paperwork. That their job was filling out insurance forms and Medicare and Medicaid and just jumping through paperwork hoops. That the doctor staff is the majority of their time is spent doing paperwork instead of actually seeing patients and dealing with whatever issues the patients have. It's just the level of bureaucracy imposed by the federal government is incredible, and people think that increasing that is somehow going to help people, that giving the government more control over the medical system is going to help people. When last week, or earlier this week or whenever it was, we had a story about the UK and their national health system and how they basically have ordered the death of a 8-month-old child because it would cost too much, according to the bureaucrats, to give the child the help that the child needs to live. It would be $1.5 million or pounds or however much it was, but it was a lot. And some death panel decided that, yeah, sorry, it would only extend the child's life for up to 12 more years, and so therefore we've decided it's just not worth doing. And further, we're also not going to allow you, parents, to take the child to the United States, even though you've raised the $1.5 million through donations from some very generous people who wanted to help you. Yes, even though you've raised that money, you shan't be able to remove the child from the hospital in which it is staying, and so have a nice day.
And you now owe us taxes on the money that you raised. Did you hear the story about the girl, I forget where it was in the U.S., had raised like $19,000 to cover some surgery because she had cancer and needed something. After getting the surgery, several months later, when taxes are being filed, knock comes on the door, letter comes in the mail sort of thing. Oh, yeah, that money that you raised on GoFundMe to pay for your medical care, you now owe us income tax on. Oh, you don't have the money because you spent it on your medical care? Okay, you now owe us a penalty, and let's start making payment plans.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure paying the tax is the first thing on everyone's mind once they raise money for a medical problem.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Another great way that this model I've seen start creeping up in the U.S. is the sliding scale model. And for example, they have these things like acupuncture, and where typically an acupuncture treatment can cost anywhere between, I guess, about $60 to $100. But they have this sliding scale model, and where it's like between 15 and 45, and anybody could come in and they can choose what they pay. Some can pay 15, some can pay 45. But it gives an opportunity to give affordable health care, and oftentimes, by the price being low, more people are going to come. So I think that helps. I think that's a great way.
And that's something they're doing on their own. They're not being forced to do that.
The government, exactly.
Okay.
And that's a great way, and where that's a great way where people can basically, or that's a great alternative that can remove the government from the healthcare system if every business started to incorporate that type of model. Just imagine, people can get us affordable and high quality healthcare everywhere. Like, no one will be denied.
There's no reason why that can't happen except for the fact that government stands in the way. And there's no reason why we couldn't have other innovations. So that's an innovation. And there's other innovations that could exist but are basically, prohibited from existing because the government says you must do it this way.
Right.
If you're taking government money, you have to do what we say. You have to follow these rules. And so people suffer and the prices go up as a result of that. And yet people will also at the same time say they'll call this a free market, and it's not. It's not even close. It's a government-controlled, government-dominated healthcare market. There's more coming up here. 855-450 free. We still got Barret Brown's story on the way, and your calls and thoughts are welcome here on Free Talk Live.
Everyone has something in their lives or just about themselves that they want to change, from trying to lose weight to becoming more motivated at work. Change is difficult, but the good news is no matter what, you don't have to go through it alone. Hypnotherapy can help you remove negative subconscious thoughts that keep you from achieving your goals. Never rely on just willpower again. Contact us at afterhourshypnotherapy.com today for your free consultation. Or contact Melvin Marsh at 678-658-8483.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, May 5th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.35 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,231 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 2.5 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,576. Antiwar.com reports in a move officials say is a strong message against North Korea. The House on Thursday voted 419-1 to pass the Korean Interdiction and Modernization of Sanctions Act. Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky was the lone opponent of the bill. The bill in practice does virtually nothing, as the U.S. already bans virtually all commerce with North Korea. Indeed, this bill threatens people who indirectly do business with North Korea, though again, most of them have already been sanctioned long ago, and anyone who uses exported North Korean slaves, which at this point it's not clear that's even a thing. This may not be a problem anyhow, since the act only goes into effect if the Senate passes a companion bill, and so far one is not even contemplated, let alone introduced or scheduled to be voted upon. The move appears to be wholly symbolic. Trump administration officials have talked up the idea of imposing more sanctions on North Korea in recent weeks, in addition to threatening to unilaterally attack them. Such moves have become increasingly difficult after decades of previous sanctions covered all the good stuff, and in the past few years, officials had to settle for bans on selling things like ski equipment to the North Korean government. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order seeking to ease the enforcement of rules prohibiting tax-exempt religious institutions from involvement in politics. At the White House Rose Garden, flanked by religious leaders and White House officials, Trump said, "We are giving our churches their voices back." Trump signed the order called Promoting Free Speech and Religious Liberty, which promises to protect and vigorously promote religious liberty. The order also directs federal agencies to exempt some religious organizations, such as churches, charities, and universities, from mandates under the Affordable Care Act that require employers to provide employees with health coverage for contraception. Trump's executive order will give the IRS discretion on whether to enforce the Johnson Amendment, a U.S. tax code provision implemented in 1954 that prohibits most nonprofits from participating in political activity. The executive order will leave it up to the IRS to determine who to punish for possible Johnson Amendment violations. In February, during the National Prayer Breakfast, Trump promised to get rid of and totally destroy the Johnson Amendment and to allow our representatives of faith to speak freely and without fear of retribution. Johnson Amendment violations can result in revocation of a group's tax-exempt status and an excise tax liability. Republicans have tried for years to repeal the Johnson Amendment, arguing that it hinders freedom of speech. A repeal of the provision requires approval from Congress. Mark Burns, a pastor who is a longtime supporter of Trump, told NBC News that Trump signing the order made it a great day for religious freedom in America. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports Delta Airlines apologized on Thursday to customers who were forced off its flight last month and said it would refund them and provide additional compensation. A video was posted online by Brian Shear on Wednesday claiming that Delta booted him off a flight along with his wife and 2 infants due to overbooking. The company said in a statement on Thursday, "We are sorry for the unfortunate experience our customers had with Delta. The flight was departing from Maui to Los Angeles on April 23rd. This comes nearly a month after United Continental Holdings sparked outrage for dragging a passenger by the hands out of an overbooked flight. However, the airline reached a settlement with the passenger last month. Following the United incident, Southwest Airlines said it would stop overbooking its flights. American Airlines also experienced its own public relations fiasco last month when a video went viral showing an onboard clash over a baby stroller. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
The nation's quadriplegics immobilized on Washington in support of stem cell research, and a Penn State t-shirt is awkwardly looked away from. And now for the weekly feature your fragile, susceptible mind already has your lips salivating for. This is The Onion Week in Review. Sources reported today that 10-year-old Brandon Thomas, who is currently homesick at his friend Kevin's sleepover, needs to just tough it the f*** out.
I don't feel like playing Xbox right now.
The pathetic little bitch who claims he just doesn't feel like eating any birthday cake or joining in any activities with his friends, frankly needs to grow a pair because his parents only live 10 minutes away, for Christ's sake. Here's what the whiny pansy had to say for himself.
I wasn't crying. It's just allergies. I want to go home.
What a f***ing wuss. In other news, a voicemail from mom is deleted 3 words in, and a man with nice eyes is blown. All right, now off with you. I can't have you seeing me like this. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the second hour of the program. Of course, you can take control of the airwaves. You can bring up anything you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you in our studio tonight, it's me, Ian.
Kallen.
And Darryl.
And also, we're going to go right back into your phone calls and thoughts. You can bring up anything you want. But we still have more from Barret Brown, the at one time imprisoned for years journalist here in the United States, which is, by the way, what was it, number 43, I think, on the list of press freedoms, like 43 from the top, the United States. So by no means a free country, by no means freedom of the press. They locked this guy up, and then they just put him back into jail or into some sort of holding center recently, and he's back out. He's writing about it. We'll share some of that writing with you coming up here. But let's go back to the phones and to the fun, where we got Paul on the line in Arizona on via Skype. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Ian.
Hey.
Yeah, good show.
Thanks.
And I was listening yesterday when Darryl and the other hosts were talking about the 25th anniversary of the LA riots.
Yes.
I lived in LA during that time myself.
Oh,
I worked for the Los Angeles City General Services Department, who did radio and technical support for LAPD.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yeah, we were very involved in all that. And what I think people need to understand, there's a lot of details there that don't really, get into the story. The first thing I'd like to say is that it's quite possible to make the case that LAPD saved Rodney King's life.
By beating him?
No, here's what happened. Okay. Rodney King was driving on the freeway when caught the attention of California Highway Patrol officers. Okay. They were chasing him first.
Mm-hmm.
He got off onto Foothill Boulevard up in the Sunland Tujunga area, was driving at breakneck speeds, and so they were calling for backup. But he finally stopped the car, and it was the CHP officers that made the stop, got the 2 other passengers out of the car, and confronted Mr. King. Okay. A female officer, CHP officer, had her gun drawn, and it's quite possible had LAP not showed up, okay, it's possible she could have shot him before Holiday ever got his VHS camcorder spun up, and it would have been just written off as just another officer-involved shooting of a crazy drug-induced suspect after a high-speed, dangerous chase. But LAPD, because once he got off the freeway, was in the city of LA. LAPD now had jurisdiction.
Yeah. So you're saying that, but isn't it speculation to say that this other officer would have been so hot-headed as to just shoot this man? Hello? Do we lose you? Paul?
I think we lost Paul.
I think we lost him. The connection looks good, so I don't know.
I wonder if the sound card went bad.
Very unlikely. That doesn't really happen with this sound card anymore. I mean, I suppose it's a remote possibility, but anyway, maybe we can get Paul back there because, I mean, obviously, even though he worked for the city, he wasn't there during that particular incident. Mm-hmm. And unless you were actually there and you know how intense that scene was.
Well, he did say that the one female CHP officer did have her gun drawn.
I think I hear, Paul, are you back?
Apparently, there was some kind of glitch, but I seem to be sending again.
Okay, so...
Was it the same cat?
Just because the officer has a gun drawn doesn't mean that she's going to, shoot the person.
Well, the first rule of gun safety is, or the second, one of the 3 rules of gun safety is don't draw the gun unless you're prepared to shoot.
I understand that, but that doesn't apply when it comes to the police, who frequently will draw their gun. Well, frequently will draw their gun to stop someone from doing something that, otherwise might lead to them being shot. It's sort of a way to escalate a situation to let someone know, hey, buddy, you're stepping too far past whatever boundary and you need to stop. And if he keeps charging at the person or whatever, I don't know what was happening there, right?
Right.
But let's just say that he was or the officer believed that she was in danger, and we certainly know cops lie about this stuff, right? The cops will say, my life was in danger, so I had to shoot. Mm-hmm. If indeed he was coming at her and she says, "Sir, I'm telling you, stop," coming, draws her gun, and he keeps coming, at a certain point she has a right to shoot that guy.
Or it could have been a thing of, step out of the vehicle, put your hands where I can see them, turn around, get on the ground. I said put your hands where I can see them, get on the ground. Well, how am I supposed to get on the ground without bracing myself with my hands?
No, I understand. And I say, I'm just saying that it could have gone down that way.
Okay. It could have, or maybe it wouldn't have. And either way, as you pointed out, and I'm not saying this would have been necessarily a better turnout, but if indeed that had not been video recorded, as you said, it would just be another officer-involved shooting, officer's word versus, the witnesses on the scene, and it never would have gotten the same play in the media. It was the video of Rodney King being beaten. Because it's not unusual for the cops to beat somebody in the streets of Los Angeles, surely, but it was unusual at that time in the early 1990s.
Yes.
I forget which year
92.
it was.
92. It was 25 years ago.
Yeah, so at that time, it was very unusual for anyone to have a video camera, especially one that they could get in a quick manner to record a situation. So that's what was so unique about that. Now, every week, we've got multiple police beating and police outrage videos across the board. Yeah. So, I mean, interesting speculation, Paul. But go ahead.
This was a big deal. The chase lasted for quite a while. It was late at night. But like they had a LAPD helicopter, had been mobilized at this point. So there was a big commotion. So Halliday, figured there's something going on out there,
So he had his camera ready. Got his camera ready. Okay.
But as I said, the whole thing could have gone down quicker, real fast. Had LAPD not taken over and said, "Look, put your gun away. We got this," And they did not approach him armed, and they used the batons instead.
Well,
and
that's not armed.
Yeah, I mean, this created the video that we all saw. Okay?
I'm pretty sure. I don't think the word armed. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't think the word armed has to do with having guns necessarily, right?
No,
you can be armed with other things.
Generally,
armed with the
guns and large sword things.
So a baton doesn't count as being armed?
I'm not sure if baton falls under the classical definition of arms.
All right. But I bet you there's a secondary definition where it probably would. I don't know, man. It seems like a reach. It really does seem like a reach to to try to give LAPD any credit for doing something right on this.
I'm not trying to say that LAPD was totally blameless.
Okay, just because they showed up. I mean, basically the only thing you can give them credit for is showing up. Everything else they did after that was terrible.
Yeah. I'm just pointing out this detail that most people don't know. is that the whole thing could have been over and he could have been dead, and none of the
or the reverse could have happened, or the cop drew down on him, because again, that's typical, right? Is after a chase, they draw down on whoever is in that car, because the claim is going to be this person was putting people in danger by traveling at high speeds. Of course, the cops were also traveling at high speeds, but regardless, they're going to claim that the person was putting people in danger. They are a dangerous person. We're going to act as though this person is a danger to himself or others, and so we're going to draw down on him. If he then follows the instructions, which maybe he would or would not, I don't remember. I remember hearing something about crack cocaine. I don't know if that was involved, but
well, there is evidence that he was under the influence of at least alcohol, if not other things.
But it's possible that he would have followed the one, the cop's instructions, gotten down, and then been cuffed and taken away without incident. So, I mean, that's also a possibility.
I'm totally correct.
Yeah.
You're totally correct. But
Paul,
I'm just saying that the way that the conversation went down on the show last night, I thought I'd bring out these other little details.
Thank you for the call tonight.
Your audience.
I appreciate it. I appreciate hearing from you. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. Dictionary.com definition of armed. What do you got over there?
Well, I've pulled up the definition of arms, which says weapons or armaments. I've pulled up the definition of armament, which says arms, weapons of war, weaponry, firearms, guns, ordnance, cannons, artillery, munitions, instruments of war, war machines, military supplies, material. I would say club definitely fits this definition.
Club certainly fits weapons. Armament sounds more like gun type stuff. But definition of armed is number 1, bearing firearms and having weapons. Having weapons. And let's continue here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves here. This is Free Talk Live.
Message and data rates may apply.
When did American men get so soft? Today's average red-blooded American man has less testosterone than his father, and his father has less testosterone than his father. Before we turn into a country of powder puffs, Force Factor is launching the Man Up America event. We want to send every man in America a complimentary bottle of the breakout supplement taking GNC by storm. Test X 180 Ignite, loaded with free testosterone-boosting manliness. Get your complimentary bottle by texting SHAPE44 to 369369. During workouts, Test X 180 Ignite raises levels of free testosterone in your body to help build lean muscle. Plus, it helps burn fat, fuel sexual desire, and improve performance. Now you can continue to feel like the real men that made this country great. Do yourself a favor. Do America a favor. Text SHAPE44 to 369369 for your complimentary bottle. That's a complimentary bottle by texting SHAPE44 to 369369.
Hey, diabetics. Yeah, you. Got a spare hour to waste going to the pharmacy to get your insulin or other meds and supplies every month? I didn't think so. Me either. I've got life going on, which is why I use PillPack. PillPack is an amazing online pharmacy. They package up all my diabetic meds and testing supplies into daily doses and send it to me every month, automatically. All I do is pay my normal copay. PillPack does the rest. I'm serious. This is a free service. They don't even charge for shipping. PillPack handles all the medical insurance stuff and even get with my doctors for my other prescriptions so I don't have to, which is good because that's the stuff I forget. But PillPack remembers everything. They even package up my daily vitamins so I remember to take them too. If you're diabetic, your meds and supplies are life and death, which means you need PillPack. Call right now for this free service. You may even qualify for $25 in free vitamins. 800-560-7310. That's 800-560-7310. Again, 800-560-7310.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadati.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com. We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll free. Join us right here. Bring up what you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We do have Skype, and you may Skype in here at username LRN.FM. Tonight in studio, it's Ian,
Kallen,
and Darryl.
Bitcoin.com is of the opinion that the current Bitcoin core development team is not taking satisfactory steps to ensure the growth and advancement of Bitcoin in accordance with Satoshi Nakamoto's vision. As community efforts to resolve these problems have failed, it's necessary to resolve them with a different approach. By using subreddit r/BTC instead of r/Bitcoin and running Bitcoin Unlimited, you're casting a vote against the current development team. You can learn more about all that at bitcoin.com. It's a pretty deep topic, but it's also really important if you're interested in cryptocurrency and interested specifically in Bitcoin to learn about what's going on behind the scenes. Bitcoin.com. As we go to your calls, your thoughts, it's Heather. She is in New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello.
Oh, is it me now?
Yes, it is you now. Here you are.
Oh, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Hi, Kallen. I wanted to say hello.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
Hosting tonight.
So, Heather, what's on your mind?
Well, actually, I went to Taco Biondo today and got some amazing tacos because it's Cinco de Mayo, and I had a conversation with somebody and was like, I really have no idea why this holiday is celebrated. And so I heard a couple of, theories as to why it's celebrated, and I thought I would ask you guys. I heard it's something to do with Mexican soldiers.
You know, there's this cool thing called the internet where, we could ask Kallen because he's the one of the three hosts who's actually spent the most time in Mexico, so he might know.
And you're going to laugh because I really don't know much about it. See, the thing about Mexico is, like, they have so many holidays. They have, like, a holiday, like, every 16 days. So, like, it's hard for me to keep up with it.
Here's the really funny thing about Cinco de Mayo. Here's the really funny thing. It's not a big holiday in Mexico. It is a celebration of the Battle of Pueblo, and in Pueblo they have some kind of celebration, but it's really only a beer propaganda thing to get you to drink really bad beer. It's an excuse to eat tacos and make jokes about putting mayonnaise in your kitchen sink.
I never need an excuse to eat tacos, but this is another one.
At Taco Biondo today, the good news is I spoke with the owner there, and she said that she is looking to get set up with Bitcoin now. And she said she needs to talk to you soon.
Well, that is what we like to hear. Awesome. Of course, New Hampshire, a real Bitcoin hotspot for people that love cryptocurrency. And if you love liberty, you really need to get up here because we need more cryptocurrency advocates on the ground going to whatever businesses they go to and just asking the question. Whenever you're checking out at some business, hey, are you taking Bitcoin yet? Do you accept Bitcoin here? And just kind of put the idea into people's head, because if they only hear it from one person, it's meaningless.
Yeah.
But if they hear it from 3 or 5 of their customers, then they're going to start to take it seriously. They're going to take the time to look at it, because it's hard to get a business owner to stop and think about something new, right? Unless it has to do directly with something about that is affecting their business currently. If it's some sort of speculative thing in the future, like Bitcoin would be, like, oh, here's this other payment thing that I could take, but do I really need to take it? I mean, they're not going to spend much brain time thinking about that, unless they have a reason to do so, and that reason has to be more than one customer. It has to be somebody, a few different customers saying something to them, and we've seen real success with just a small core group of Bitcoiners here in the Keene area. We have become, the Keene area in New Hampshire, not only the biggest Bitcoin area of all of New Hampshire, but arguably the most Bitcoin accepting businesses per capita are here in Keene compared to the rest of the world that I'm aware of. And I want to know if I'm wrong about that, but as far as like per capita, if you go to coinmap.org and you actually look, you can count. They have the icons on the map of how many businesses in a given area are accepting Bitcoin. We've got more than San Francisco. And if you go and you look at the top 10 list, if you search for like top 10 Bitcoin cities, San Francisco always ranks as number 1, and they always use the coin map as their example. But obviously they're only looking at major cities when they run those numbers, because they're not considering little old Keene, New Hampshire with population 25,000, which again, per capita, we just dominate San Francisco. I mean, and that's just with a handful of activists here. Imagine the Bitcoin mecca that New Hampshire can be if we have another 100 or 200 Bitcoiners here active, pushing the idea of Bitcoin in the streets. Heather, thanks for sharing that tonight. So yeah, Cinco de Mayo, not as popular in Mexico as you might have thought. So we'll see you next week, and thank you for the call tonight.
And September 16th is the Mexican Independence Day. There's a lot of people that think, Cinco de Mayo is Mexican 4th of July. No, it's not.
Now, who did they gain independence from? Spain?
Well, which
Spain.
time?
Which time? Okay.
Because there was an independence from Spain. There was later an independence from France, and
interesting. See, I didn't know that about them.
Yeah, I didn't know that France was involved either.
Yeah, there was actually the Battle of Pueblo was when France was trying to basically reconquer Mexico. And also during the time of that battle, May 5th, 1862, the French military, because that was during the American Civil War, and the Union had a blockade on Confederate ports, and the French were actually coming to try to assist the Confederates. They could not land in any of the Confederate ports, so they had to go through Mexico. And that's actually part of why there were French troops in Mexico. They were trying to come help the Confederates, and the Mexican military basically prevented them from doing so.
So if you want to join us, whether you want to talk about history or anything that is on your mind, you can. You can take control of the airwaves here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We've got Sarah. She's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Sarah.
Yeah, I just want to mention that our state, so they banned speeding bans on state highways. But they take half of the money from the city tickets on the city roads. Now,
okay, hold on. Let me clarify here. You're saying the state government takes half of the money if the city writes a ticket, but now state roads, there's no speeding ticket vans allowed.
Right. So, for example, so Rio Rancho, they have 8 speeding vans, but they're only put on the city street, city road. Okay, there are 2 520 and 380. They're state highways, and they go right through Rio Rancho city line. But see, the state they prohibit it. So it's like that's a state road. You can't touch it. You can't put speeding vans or do nothing with it, even if it's going through Rio Rancho.
Good. I'm really glad to hear that the state government there in New Mexico has banned the use of the speeding vans on state highways. Now, if they would only take it further and ban them across the state, I think that would be even better. Sarah, thanks for the call tonight. There's more coming up here, and you can take control of the airwaves. This is Free Talk Live.
Homeowners have much more to worry about than just making their mortgage payment. Can you afford to repair or replace your air conditioning when it stops working this summer? Or worse, a major plumbing problem? With National Home, you can say goodbye to repair bills. If you own a home, you could stop paying for these costly repairs. Best of all, call now to get 1 month of repair coverage for free. Get total protection for your home's major appliances and systems, so you have no more costly repair bills. Call 800-887-3022. That's 800-887-3022. 800-887-3022.
We use cell phones against our heads every day. But now, a landmark U.S. government study confirms increased health risks from exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The time to protect yourself is now. The solution is Defender Shield. Proudly made in the USA, Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation emitted from cell phones, tablets, and laptops. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. Use discount code DEFENDER for 10% off. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in EMF radiation protection.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live, dial toll-free, bring up anything you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. It's 855-450-3733. And we've got Skype. So you can Skype in here at username LRN.FM. Tonight, in the studio with you, it's Ian,
Kallen,
and Darryl.
So we can talk about a lot of stuff here. You can take control of the airwaves as well and bring up anything that you want. But let's get back to the original story that we opened the show up with, and we never really got into what Barret Brown has to say. He is the journalist who was put in jail, federal prison, for the dastardly crime of posting a link in a chat room. I mean, that's what this guy did, and it seems like a clear violation of his free speech, but amazingly, he ended up in prison over this. And he got out a little while back and was on probation. And then last week we reported that he'd been arrested after visiting the probation office. And it wasn't sure, we weren't exactly sure as to why. It comes out that apparently they're mad because he was doing interviews without asking permission first. And so what he said to the bureaucrats was, I want to see the statute. I want to see the rule from the Bureau of Prisons that says I've got to get permission before I can do an interview. So he says the next morning, this is an article he wrote from dmagazine.com. He says, the crew from Vice magazine met me at D Magazine, and we began shooting for an episode of Cyber War to be aired next September. On camera, I called both of these bureaucrats that he'd been talking to, leaving messages to the effect that I still hadn't heard from them on this imaginary program statement, and wondering aloud if Lujan, who is the Bureau of Prisons representative, Luz Lujan, wondering aloud if Lujan might not be perhaps thinking of an entirely different form, one which a news media representative is required to submit to a prison in order to gain access to an inmate on the prison grounds. Now that makes sense because in a prison, they have total control over that facility.
Correct. And
asking for ID from, or a permission slip from a media representative is pretty common. Mm-hmm. He says, I didn't hear back from either Dean or Lujan over the following days. The next Wednesday, when I was summoned to the Volunteers of America for a random drug test, I saw the director, Merrill Wells. He asked me if I'd gotten the forms taken care of, and I told him I needed to speak with him about that. He said he had a meeting right then, and I said perhaps it'd be best if the matter were discussed in some more formal manner anyway. He replied he would in fact be available to speak right then. I briefly explained that the BOP's request, facilitated by Dean, who was one of the other bureaucrats, was illegal and contrary to both BOP policy, as put forth in the program statement, as well as all current readings of the Constitution as even applied to inmates, and reminded him that I'd been doing interviews without any approval whatsoever for 4 years, both from prison and from his halfway house. Because, again, if you're in jail and you call up Vice or you call up Free Talk Live or whatever, you don't have to ask anyone's permission to make a phone call and do an over-the-phone interview.
Right.
Unless you're in a communications management unit, in which case they're not going to let you do any kind of interviews. Mm-hmm. But going on here, he says that, so also from the halfway house, and that his staff had been well aware of these things happening. He said that he had not been aware of this, and that they were merely required to report any press interviews, and that this was laid out in their operating guidelines. After urinating in a cup for the glory of the state, I walked back to Ms. Dean's office to see the forms that she had been given. Dean was in Wells's office across the hall, and the two were speaking with some degree of agitation. Though I couldn't make out what they were saying other than my name, which I consider the most wondrous of sounds and to which I've trained my ears, the two came out and they were surprised to see me. I reminded Dean she told me to pick up these forms. We all went into her office, and I again explained why their position was criminal and immoral and whatnot. But I took the forms with me. That afternoon, I received a call from both of them, which I recorded, and he posts a link to it. As can be heard, Dean tells me that my failure to fill out one of the two forms and to require media representatives to fill out and submit the other before interviewing me would be regarded as a refusal. Here, she refers to refusing an order, that type of infraction. I reply at inimitable length and unwieldiness of tongue that if the state and its servants believe that a refusal to comply with unconstitutional and imaginary rules that the state itself refuses to identify constitutes a refusal, then by golly, what a wonderful world we've created for ourselves.
Hold on. So let me see if I understand this correctly. He's saying that I've not refused because
I haven't gotten
nobody ever gave me the correct form and they never showed me the policy.
Yeah, I guess they gave him forms finally, but yeah, he never was shown the
right
policy.
form.
And well, he was never shown the policy anyway.
Right, but the form he got was not even the right form.
Well, on this day in question, he did receive the forms in question.
Okay.
From the bureaucrat. So he finally got the forms, but they never showed him the policy.
Correct. Okay.
So he says, then I informed them that I'm recording the conversation and will be submitting it, he says. Now, he says I hadn't actually decided what one does with a recording of this sort, but that's what he told them. And that's my right to do so, which it is, he says. Laws on recording vary from state to state, but in Texas, one doesn't even have to inform the other party, which I do just for fun, he writes. Afterward, I went on a Houston-Dallas radio show hosted by Kenny Webster, who was filling in for some other fellow and whose other program, Pursuit of Happiness, I appear on about once a week. I explained the situation up to this point, and we attempted to get Mr. Lujan on the phone, but only got as far as, or excuse me, I guess Luz is a female. I apologize. Only got as far as her voicemail message, which we promptly mocked. Shortly after that, I received another call from Ms. Dean, who said Lujan wanted to do a conference call, and he recorded that and posts that here. It was relatively short since Lujan hung up after I told her that I would not speak to her or any BOP official without recording on my end. And this is common, by the way, for people that have never actually taken the time to record a conversation with a bureaucrat. It's very common that when you tell a bureaucrat that you're recording the call, they will terminate the conversation.
Correct. Especially if it's something that they don't want anybody knowing what they're saying. Now, if you just call up and, tell the clerk at City Hall, hey, I'm recording this call. How much is a dog license? That's basically public info. They'll be
Most
like $5.
Most of the time they'll be okay, but not always. Sometimes they just don't like being recorded. Right. And whether they have something to hide or not, sometimes they just don't like it, and they'll hang up. So,
and that begs a good question,
sure.
Ian. We could talk about recording calls because typically most states, I believe, they have the whole kind of either one party or two party consent.
That's right.
Of recording phone calls. Do you what do y'all think overall about recording phone calls? Do you think no phone calls should be recorded, or do you think they should? Because I think people can look at it both ways.
Well, there are a lot of people who want to protect privacy of conversations, and I understand that. But when it comes to interacting with a government bureaucrat, I think they should all be on the record.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I think that every one of those calls that you make to a government bureaucrat should be on the record, because you never know what's going to come out of that bureaucrat's mouth. I mean, it could be a threat. It could be a lie. Yeah. You had a conversation earlier we talked about in the first hour where you were lied to in person. And so whether it's on the phone or whether it's in person, I fully recommend that people document their interactions with these people, because it's so common that bureaucrats will be dishonest, or maybe they're just misinformed. Maybe the bureaucrat themselves doesn't actually know what the law says. That's very common, where they themselves have no clue, but they're just spouting off of what they think it might say. They may have been told incorrectly by a higher-up. They may misremember. So I don't want to say that every time the bureaucrat is lying, but ultimately misinformation is frequently given by bureaucrats. And if you don't have a record of it, then they could say anything they want to about what you said to them. They could make up that you insulted them or were rude to them, even though you weren't. And if they're rude to you or they insult you, you can't prove that either.
So you're saying phone calls should be recorded specifically regarding government, but elsewhere, what do you think that should be private to the people?
I think that it depends on the circumstance, right? Like if you're talking with somebody who you are a friend with, then there's probably no reason to record that conversation. If you're talking with somebody who, let's say, is a business and you want to get something on the record because you've been treated poorly in the past, I think you should be able to record those calls. But in some states, it's illegal to record without informing the other party, and so you get into some hot water if you do. We're coming up.
Don't do what I did and run out. If it's working, don't quit. Why would you stop? Why undo all the good that's been accomplished?
You've got to feed them right for life.
Dynavite is nutrition.
If I ever took Roy off of Dynavite.
No. When I get to about 3/4, when I get down to the bottom of my box of Dynavite, oh no, I've got a couple more scoops. It's time to place my order. Dynavite.com. DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite for your dog this week.
We'll send you a big tube of Doggo Suds free.
Peppermint, tea tree, lavender, Doggo Suds shampoo.
Made with all-natural coconut, jojoba, aloe.
But no itchy, harsh chemicals.
Lather up, rinse away.
Try Doggo Suds.
Free this week at Dynavite.com.
Just feed your dog right. Use Dynavite.
Dynavite for life.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
It's been said, any society is only 3 missed meals away from chaos. Those times may be near. Think about it. Our country faces multiple terrorist threats and aggressions from Russia and North Korea. Social unrest and violent marches yet again may lead to looting of stores and city shutdowns. And our crumbling infrastructure leaves our power grid vulnerable to long-term outages from a single cyber attack. When the chaos from any one of these threats arises, the government knows it can't provide during a widespread national emergency. That's why you need your own plan for self-reliance. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. Get a 4-week survival food supply for only $99. That includes breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Order online at preparewithgcn.com. $99 for 4 weeks of survival food that tastes like homemade cooking and lasts up to 25 years from My Patriot Supply. Get your kits today at preparewithgcn.com. Free shipping is included. Preparewithgcn.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want. You can dial in toll-free here. Bring up anything, 855-450-FREE. Like freedom. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Kallen,
and Darryl.
You can save big time on your Amazon purchases. Here's how you do it. And when I say big time, I mean like 20, 25%, maybe even more. What you do is you go to saveatpurse.com. That's saveatpurse.com, and you load up your Amazon cart or your wish list on Amazon. You copy the wish list URL, you put it into saveatpurse.com, and then you select your discount. So if you want to save 20%, in my experience, I'm usually able to save that amount of money, have the products ordered for me within a matter of no more than a day at 20%, sometimes just a few hours. If I want like 25%, it might take a couple days if possible. And then if you get up higher than that, you could be waiting a week. But if you want something right then, you can get the purse instant and save 5%. You can choose 10, 15, whatever you want, whatever discount you want, up to 33%. It's possible, and it happens, and I do it all the time, and it's amazing. I've done it more than 80 times in more than 2 years at saveatpurse.com, saveatpurse.com. Also, now available at saveatpurse.com, they also have merchants. So they started out as just only a Amazon discount thing. Oh, by the way, you have to have cryptocurrency to shop at saveatpurse.com. So if you don't have Bitcoin or one of the other competitors to Bitcoin, you can't save big time on Amazon. If you don't have crypto, then just go to shop.freetalklive.com and you can shop normally through Amazon there, and we'll benefit from that. But saveatpurse.com also has Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree, the DVD copy that only about 120 remain. And so far, I haven't had anybody test it out. I've not had anyone order a copy of Derek J's on DVD. This is the first time they've been available online for Bitcoin. So if you've been wanting to get a copy of the DVD for this epic documentary, which you can watch for free online, which may be why some people don't want to buy the DVD, but DVD is a great way to loan this out or give it as a gift. So if you got some loved ones who've got a birthday coming up, or some other excuse to give someone a gift, maybe a graduation present.
Yeah.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree.
Mother's Day.
There you go. Perfect for mom and dad. But yeah, you can go and grab it for Bitcoin at saveatpurse.com. It's $9 worth of Bitcoin plus a couple dollars to ship.
$2 shipping.
Yeah.
So it's a total of $11. I just pulled it up.
Yep.
So if you type in just crime spree, it's the first result.
Option. Perfect. So maybe somebody will try that out. We'll ship it straight from the LRN studio, and I'll slip in some LRN and Free Talk Live, a couple bumper stickers, and some other stuff in there too. All right, so toll-free number here tonight, 855-450-FREE. We're sharing the piece here from Barret Brown. He's a reporter who's been harassed by the federal government, put in prison for posting a link in a chat room once upon a time. He got out of prison, was on probation, and is subsequently rearrested a couple of weeks ago for, according to the bureaucrats, for not letting them know when he had interviews. And he points out to them in a discussion that he had with some of these bureaucrats is that he's been doing interviews from the federal prison without telling the prison officials. And he asked them...
Oh, so you're admitting to having violated prison policies.
Yeah, well, he asked to see those policies, and he was never shown those policies. He was given
they're
forms.
They're not written down. They're, it's an oral tradition.
Yeah, we make crap
here
up,
in the
basically.
Department of Prisons.
Make it up as they go along.
They lie in the ethers.
So, back to the story here from...
We're not lying. We're just making it up.
Magazine, dmagazine.com. So they and he's got all these calls, these discussions with these bureaucrats. He's posting them in these articles.
Good.
We're not playing those for you, but if you want to hear what actually went down beyond just his summary, you can actually do this, and we'll post this story on our Facebook and Twitter, so you can dig deeper into this than we'll be able to do. Mm-hmm. So he's talking to a couple different bureaucrats named Dean and Lujan. These are their last names, and he says, "I told Lujan." Lujan hung up, and after I told her that I wouldn't speak to her or any BOP official without recording on my end, and that at any rate we had nothing to discuss, as I merely wanted her agency to cite the rule that I was being threatened into following. Also, I wanted to play video games, which I subsequently did, after first having the 2 recordings sent to the Courage Foundation and Free Barret Brown organizations to be uploaded. The next morning, I received a call from the halfway house telling me to report there immediately. I actually had to go in anyway for my twice-weekly regular check-in, but clearly this was something out of the ordinary. When I arrived, halfway staffer Woody Hostler asked me if I was recording, and I said no. Wells arrived and told me that he didn't know what was going on, but that the BOP has said I should be called in and made to wait. I made a series of calls to journalists I know, as well as to Dallas City Councilman Philip Kingston, who started looking for an attorney. At around 10 a.m., 2 U.S. Marshals arrived and took me into custody. I was taken to the federal building and shortly after was transferred to Seagoville Federal Correctional Institution, which we actually have a listener, or more than one, but there's one who calls the show, Matthew Shore, who's in Seagoville.
Oh, is that the guy that got the Baskin-Robbins receipts?
Oh, yeah. He's on, we got a 500-page Freedom of Information Act request that was sent to us because we're helping one of the prisoners there do Freedom of Information Acts because we're the media, so we can get better service, basically, than the government can, about what is basically an ice cream scandal at Seagoville Prison, where the rules in the prisons, and this may have been the case when you were a corrections officer once upon a time, Darryl, but the rule is that they have to eat, the corrections officers have to eat the same food that the prisoners do.
Yep, we ate the same food that the prisoners did.
Right. And turns out that Seagoville has been ordering thousands of dollars worth of Baskin-Robbins ice cream.
Wow.
And that Baskin-Robbins ice cream has been exclusively given, almost completely exclusively given to the guards.
No, we had that program that one time that none of the inmates showed up to.
Where they only had vanilla. And yes, you're right. That was the one time.
There was ice cream there.
That's right. That was the one time, but it wasn't available to all the inmates, only the ones who showed up for that program that nobody wants to join, which is some sort of drug and alcohol nonsense.
Right. They're like, we
program.
will knock time off of your
They'll
sentence.
knock a year off your sentence if you take the program.
show up to this program. And people did not sign up for the program.
That shows you how bad of a program it is. Like the fact that people in prison don't want to knock a year off their sentence, take this program, should say something. But anyway, so Seagoville's where they took him. He says, which has 2 jail units for those awaiting trial, sentencing, or further transfer, and where I spent the bulk of 2014 writing columns for D Magazine. Incidentally, I caught up on a great deal of high-quality prison gossip over the next 4 days, including updates on people I wrote about in past columns.
I wonder if Barret Brown knows about the ice cream thing.
It's a good question.
That's who you should contact.
Should email it to him.
Because remember, we've been discussing like how do we get this made public? Contact Barret. Hey, Barret, you were in this prison.
You might be interested in this 500-page
FOIA request about ice cream.
So, like the redneck Muslim gangster with whom I shared a cell in the SHU,
Will Coley's not in prison.
Special housing unit, after our demonstration against a deranged guard, and who flooded our cell in the course of a mini jihad against our captors. I shall resist the urge to digress, though it is strong. All of that will be covered in a separate piece a bit later. At no point during my incarceration was I provided with any written explanation as to why I'd been arrested. One staffer was able to tell me the marshals had been told by the BOP that I had, quote, refused an order, unquote, but no such infraction report materialized, whereas in nearly all circumstances such a report must be filed and provided to an inmate within 24 hours of the incident. Meanwhile, David Siegel of Hines & Boone, whom D Magazine publisher Wick Allison had retained for my use, had initiated communications with other BOP officials with a firmer understanding than Mrs. Lujan, of what they'd gotten themselves into, and made clear the matter would be brought before a judge if I were not released immediately. Thus it was that on Monday morning, the counselor at Seagoville's J2 jail unit summoned me to his office and told me, quote, you won. Get your stuff ready. You're leaving, unquote. Woody Hostler, the aforementioned halfway house staffer, had to pick me up in his car and take me back to Hutchins, where I was given a breathalyzer and drug test before being cajoled into meeting with Wells, who this time had some other fellow in his office with him whom he identified vaguely as his new program director. After commenting that I, quote, look mad, unquote, Wells said that the BOP wanted me to sign 2 forms. I asked him what would happen if I didn't. He replied that in that case we would be, quote, back where we started, unquote, and that he would have to call the BOP. I asked who at the BOP had told him all this, and he said that Lujan was absent that day and someone else was acting in her role. I spent about 2 minutes trying to get him to admit that I was being threatened with yet another unlawful arrest if I failed to sign these 2 inappropriate forms, an idea that he attempted to depict as wholly silly. I asked, for instance, if I could take the forms with me and talk to my attorney first. He would only reply that he would have to call the BOP if I didn't sign them right there and then. Finally, I told him I would sign the forms if I were allowed to take copies with me. He agreed to this, all the while taking pains to note that he's, quote, not my enemy, unquote, a regular refrain of his. These latest forms may be seen here. He links to those. 1, the release of information consent I had already signed at my own insistence 5 months prior when Lujan was telling reporters she couldn't talk about my situation until I signed it. The other was of the 2 forms I'd originally been asked to. Was one of the 2 forms I'd originally been asked to sign, the news interview authorization. We'll tell you a little bit more here from Barret Brown on his odyssey back into prison in moments. It's Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com is of the opinion that the current Bitcoin core development team is not taking satisfactory steps to ensure the growth and advancement of Bitcoin in accordance with Satoshi's vision. As community efforts to resolve these problems have failed, it is necessary to resolve them with a different approach. By using subreddit r/BTC instead of r/Bitcoin and running Bitcoin Unlimited, you are casting a vote against the current development team. Learn more at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
You've said it yourself. We need a healthcare system that focuses on health, not sickness. Health insurance pays for treating sickness but gives you nothing for being healthy. There's a free market healthcare company that gives you freedom from health insurance. They give you a proactive health assessment daily, no charge 24-hour access to doctors. Check them out right now at healthexcellenceselect.com. Any kind of doctor, traditional, integrative, chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage. You'll love the service and price. healthexcellenceselect.com. healthexcellenceselect.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, May 5th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.35 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,231 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 2.5 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,576. Antiwar.com reports in a move officials say is a strong message against North Korea. The House on Thursday voted 419-1 to pass the Korean Interdiction and Modernization of Sanctions Act. Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky was the lone opponent of the bill. The bill in practice does virtually nothing, as the U.S. already bans virtually all commerce with North Korea. Indeed, this bill threatens people who indirectly do business with North Korea, though again, most of them have already been sanctioned long ago, and anyone who uses exported North Korean slaves, which at this point it's not clear that's even a thing. This may not be a problem anyhow, since the act only goes into effect if the Senate passes a companion bill, and so far one is not even contemplated, let alone introduced or scheduled to be voted upon. The move appears to be wholly symbolic. Trump administration officials have talked up the idea of imposing more sanctions on North Korea in recent weeks, in addition to threatening to unilaterally attack them. Such moves have become increasingly difficult after decades of previous sanctions covered all the good stuff, and in the past few years, officials had to settle for bans on selling things like ski equipment to the North Korean government. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order seeking to ease the enforcement of rules prohibiting tax-exempt religious institutions from involvement in politics. At the White House Rose Garden, flanked by religious leaders and White House officials, Trump said, "We are giving our churches their voices back." Trump signed the order called Promoting Free Speech and Religious Liberty, which promises to protect and vigorously promote religious liberty. The order also directs federal agencies to exempt some religious organizations, such as churches, charities, and universities, universities from mandates under the Affordable Care Act that require employers to provide employees with health coverage for contraception. Trump's executive order will give the IRS discretion on whether to enforce the Johnson Amendment, a U.S. tax code provision implemented in 1954 that prohibits most nonprofits from participating in political activity. The executive order will leave it up to the IRS to determine who to punish for possible Johnson Amendment violations. In February, during the National Prayer Breakfast, Trump promised to get rid of and totally destroy the Johnson Amendment and to allow our representatives of faith to speak freely and without fear of retribution. Johnson Amendment violations can result in revocation of a group's tax-exempt status and an excise tax liability. Republicans have tried for years to repeal the Johnson Amendment, arguing that it hinders freedom of speech. A repeal of the provision requires approval from Congress. Mark Burns, a pastor who is a longtime supporter of Trump, told NBC News that Trump signing the order made it a great day for religious freedom in America. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports Delta Airlines apologized on Thursday to customers who were forced off its flight last month and said it would refund them and provide additional compensation. A video was posted online by Brian Shear on Wednesday claiming that Delta booted him off a flight along with his wife and 2 infants due to overbooking. The company said in a statement on Thursday, "We are sorry for the unfortunate experience our customers had with Delta. The flight was departing from Maui to Los Angeles on April 23rd. This comes nearly a month after United Continental Holdings sparked outrage for dragging a passenger by the hands out of an overbooked flight. However, the airline reached a settlement with the passenger last month. Following the United incident, Southwest Airlines said it would stop overbooking its flights. American Airlines also experienced its own public relations fiasco last month when a video went viral showing an onboard clash over a baby stroller. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Tensions in Washington, D.C. reached a new high yesterday as several dozen members of Congress took a class of visiting school children hostage, barricaded themselves inside the Capitol Rotunda, and demanded $12 trillion in cash. The children were rounded up at gunpoint, whereupon the House Speaker informed negotiators that one child would die every hour unless their demands were met. Here now a brief video one of the students was able to send out from inside the Capitol.
Nobody move, you're all gonna die! This kid's got a phone.
Historians across the country politely reminded Americans this week to quickly check and see what has happened in the past before making any big decisions.
Just take any book with history in it and then quickly skim through it to see what decisions in the past turned out to be bad. And then once you've pinpointed them, simply don't make those same decisions again. Because if a bad thing happened again, you see, that would be very bad indeed, wouldn't it?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program, and you, as always, can bring up anything that you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you in our studio tonight, it's Ian,
Kallen,
and Darryl.
Kallen Diggs is here with us. He is the host of Reaching the Finish Line, also the author of Reaching the Finish Line, the book. But it's a podcast as well.
Yes.
And what are you publishing weekly, pretty much?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Every week, 30 minutes, and then I have an hour if people want to get the full episode. And I have a lot of people, Robert Kiyosaki, I had the co-founder of Match.com.
Oh, wow.
I had NBA players on there. I had
successful people.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, very inspirational and also a great resource for career development and entrepreneurship.
And so folks can go to reachingthefinishline.com, you can subscribe to the podcast there, and learn more about the book. Once again, that's reachingthefinishline.com for more of Kallen. As we continue, if you're just tuning in, we've gotten into detail here. Barret Brown, the journalist who was put in jail, because we've talked recently about press freedoms here on this show, and the United States ranked recently at number 43, down from number 41, I believe, the previous year. Number 43 of all the world's countries in press freedoms, in the Reporters Without Borders Press Freedom Index that comes out yearly. So things aren't very good here in the United States. They're not very free, and Barret Brown is one of a myriad of examples of people who never should have had seen the inside of a prison cell, but he in fact went to prison for years because he posted a link to some information the federal government didn't like into a chat room somewhere. And that's it. It wasn't his information. He didn't steal the information. He didn't post the information. He didn't host the information. He just posted a link to that information. And he went to prison.
Unfortunately. And what did they classify that as on his record? Is that like a misdemeanor? Is that a felony?
He was facing like a felonies.
Yeah.
But they wound up dropping the felonies, and he pled guilty to a misdemeanor of some sort. I forget exactly what it was.
5 years for a misdemeanor?
Wow.
I believe it was possibly several.
Multiple counts, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So consecutive sentences on misdemeanors.
It's so unfortunate because when see, prison just does so much damage to people.
Sure does.
Especially because when people try to re-enter society and they want to apply for a job, like they enter a different world because most employers, even if it's a misdemeanor of a lesser sort, just the fact that you have something on your record, they have a justifiable reason to deny you employment. And unfortunately, when people in society, cannot get work, they do one things. They either go on public assistance or they commit other crimes to be able to be sustained.
This is a common story where somebody out of prison has a very tough time finding work, and it's sad because a lot of times the person and it's understandable as well. If you got 200 applications for a job, you're going to take the most qualified people, and I can understand why somebody would put somebody aside who's got a questionable looking conviction. But the thing is, a lot of times those convictions are for nonviolent crimes or crimes without a victim. And there's a lot of times a decent explanation behind it from a decent person who maybe made a mistake and is trying to change their life around, but they never get that chance. They never get the chance to, make things right or make good, or even explain themselves in those circumstances. And it's tragic. But anyway, back to the story here from Barret Brown. He's writing about.
So I just pulled up to find out exactly what it was he pled guilty to. Article from The Intercept says that as part of the plea, he pled guilty to charges related to the threats, obstruction, and accessory after the fact in the Stratfor hack.
The hell, he didn't threaten anybody. Just crazy.
Right, but that was one of the things that was
here, you plead
in
guilty to this so we don't charge you with a felony, basically.
Plead guilty to these misdemeanors and we drop the felonies.
Wow. So then they arrested him just like a week or two ago for ostensibly not asking permission to, they told him he had to ask permission to give media interviews, and he says, "Nuh-uh, show me the policy." They never showed him the policy. They instead showed him the inside of the Seagoville Correctional Institution, the federal prison, and eventually he ended up, he had an attorney who was giving these bureaucrats a hard time, and he got called in and said that, "All right, you won," they told him, and they let him go, but then they said, "You got to go to the essentially to the halfway house, and you have to sign 2 forms." One of them was the release of information consent, which he'd already signed when he was in prison, not in prison, but previously at another bureaucrat's, at his insistence, saying that another bureaucrat was telling reporters that she couldn't talk about the situation with the reporters until he released this information consent form. He also was asked to sign the news interview authorization, which is intended for inmates about whom a prison has been approached by the press. There was no more talk of my seeking permission to do interviews and no more forms to be forced upon journalists seeking to speak to me. The media representatives agreement, which the BOP had just last week claimed I was required to get press to fill out and submit, was no longer anywhere to be found. As there's been some confusion in the press on this point, I'll note again that federal inmates are not required to seek permission from the BOP to speak to the press, period. Some previous language to that effect was rescinded 17 years ago, as noted in the program statement That's why I was never given any infraction for doing so over the 4 years in which I did interviews from half a dozen different facilities by mail and phone. And it's why the BOP was not able to hold me in prison after Haynes and Boone threatened to go to a judge. The forms involved, as noted in the program statement, as well as the requirements described in another section that put forth conditions on press access to institutions, having to seek comment from the BOP, refrain from taking pictures without the consent of inmates, apply entirely to a separate agreement that a news organization enters into in return for being allowed into a facility to interview a particular inmate who himself has either given consent or denied it via the news interview authorization form, which is presented to him within 24 hours of a qualifying outlet submitting the media representative's agreement. So basically all the forms he's talking about here have to do with being in prison.
Right.
And a news media company coming into physically to the prison to conduct an interview in the prison.
You know, this whole sort of thing reminds me of several years ago, and it's probably been 6 or 7 years ago when this happened, when Meg McClain and several other activists went down to D.C. and set up the lemonade stand. And they were, selling lemonade. They got charged with vending without a permit on Capitol grounds, but there is no such thing as a permit to vend on Capitol grounds, which is why the judge ultimately wound up dropping the case, because you can't be convicted of not filling out a non-existent permit.
But you can be carted off in handcuffs, and
which is what happened to them.
Right,
what happened to Barret Brown.
Right, and the cops have no liability for that.
Right.
So
because
judge drops the
they
charge.
acted in good faith.
Yeah. Oh, they thought this was illegal. Well, it wasn't. I'm reiterating this, says Brown, because the BOP thrives on ambiguity and would like nothing more than to see major news outlets continue to ignore my story on the vague grounds that maybe I broke the rules, and perhaps the BOP didn't actually just conspire to deprive countless media outlets of their very specific and unambiguous right to speak to an American citizen, and then retaliate against me with an illegal arrest when I failed to help them do so. The BOP, like all U.S. law enforcement and intelligence agencies, depends for its continued de facto extra-legal powers on a press corps that is largely incapable of sorting through facts, that is easily distracted, and that cannot even be depended upon to defend its own rights, nor the rights of individual journalists. Already, I've documented in my columns for D Magazine and The Intercept, via documents obtained by various means, the demonstrable criminality of this organization. And, he's right on here, pointing out that the United States media is an embarrassment to the principles of freedom of the press. Overall, there's obviously some key exceptions.
Right.
Of course, we do a pretty good job here in New Hampshire of holding the government accountable. But in a lot of cases, the mainstream media, they kowtow. They bow down, they kiss the boot, they kiss the ring. And how much press coverage is Barret Brown getting over this? I bet you it's not that much.
Yeah. I've only seen it in a couple of places, and it's the places where
Intercept.
I would expect to see it.
Yeah, The Intercept, which isn't a United States-based organization. I believe they covered this. I think that's where we read the story from originally. More coming up here in moments. You can share your thoughts and bring up anything you want. 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
If you're a sleep apnea sufferer who's on the go to your phone. Because if you give us a call right now, you'll be able to try the world's first portable mini CPAP device absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights. It's the Transcend Mini CPAP, an engineering marvel that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. Its unique design is so small and so light, you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. No more dragging around a big, bulky CPAP. Even better, now you can try Transcend absolutely risk-free for 10 restful nights by calling minicpap.com, 1-800-768-3138. Transcend is FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. You can also add a battery pack that's as tiny as a deck of cards. So now you can enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. But don't wait. To receive your 10-night in-home trial, call minicpap.com now. 1-800-768-3138. That's 1-800-768-3138.
Are you drowning in debt? Are you struggling to make minimum payments? Did you know that on average a household with at least one credit card struggles with over $10,000 in credit card debt? If this sounds like you, know that it's not your fault. Credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates and low minimum payments. Before you know it, you're in over your head. We've helped thousands of good people just like you become debt-free with our Debt Reset program that will dramatically reduce your debt down to a fraction of what you owe. Our Debt Reset program is customized to get you debt-free in as little as 24 to 48 months with one low monthly payment. If you owe over $10,000 in credit card debt or even personal loans, call 800-912-6177. There are no upfront fees or out-of-pocket expenses. You don't pay a dime until we succeed. Call now to see how the Debt Reset program can work for you. 800-912-6177. That's 800-912-6177. Again, 800-912-6177.
If you're looking for work, you know the math. There are many more applicants than openings, so you need to stand out, not blend into the blah, blah, blah your interviewer is hearing from your competition. Here's a tip. In your interview, you will be judged more by the questions you ask than the answers you give. Yes, do anticipate the obvious job interview questions and prepare concise, insightful, glass-half-full sounding responses. And you should interview your interviewer. Seem genuinely curious about what will help get results. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. You want to cut through the clutter. For more tips for job seekers and making all the other conversations you have more productive, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free, at apps.lrn.fm.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. Dial on in, toll free, bring up whatever you want here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll give some more final comments on the Barrett Brown case here in moments. We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts. Of course, you can take control of the airwaves. I do want to let you know about shop.freetalklive.com. That's where you can go to get stuff on Amazon and help Free Talk Live simultaneously. You can get whatever you would normally buy at Amazon, and Free Talk Live gets a portion of the purchase. It's very simple. You start at shop.freetalklive.com. There's Amazon Canada, UK, and US. That's shop.freetalklive.com. Let's go to Utah, where Mark is on the line. Mark, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
today I wanted to talk about a story that I found on Zero Hedge. You guys ever heard of or visited Zero Hedge?
Oh, yeah.
.com?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's an article today talking about Emmanuel Macron, who's the one of the guys running in the French presidential election against Marine Le Pen, or the guy, I guess now.
Okay.
And he's had 9 gigabytes of private documents released on 4chan.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yeah. It turns out that everybody's talking about how this guy is supposedly evading taxes by sending or through an account in the Bahamas, but apparently this document shows that the account is not in the Bahamas, it's in the Cayman Islands. Not that I really care, but,
Hey, good for him for evading taxes.
Yeah, I know. I'm an agorist myself, so I totally support whatever he does.
But of course, a lot of times the politicians, they want to make it look like they're paying taxes because then they're good little citizens. But
yes,
yeah,
I'm with you on that. So.
Although Donald Trump said that he was smart for having found a way to supposedly not pay.
That's one of the things I liked about Trump. I mean, I like the fact that he touted avoiding as many taxes as possible, and that actually got him a lot of votes, I suspect.
And he also, he also said that he would put Hillary Clinton in prison,
and then went back on that.
Got him some votes, and then he went back on that. He said a bunch of things that he has not fulfilled.
So, Mark, is that the juiciest of all these 9 gigabytes, or did these just come out this afternoon and no one's had a chance to really get through it yet?
Yeah, they came out this afternoon, and so nobody's really had a chance to totally dig into it. WikiLeaks has tweeted about it a few times.
Now, just to clarify, we'd heard a little bit about the French election and that it was the Le Pen lady who is the one who might support the French exit from the EU. This guy, is he the guy who is against leaving the EU?
Yeah, and he's really more of a free market guy, but not really.
I've heard him described as the establishment candidate.
Yes, he is the
have
establishment
made it
candidate, but he is more free market than, I guess, Marine Le Pen. But I guess when you're talking about politicians,
right,
one
but
person's free market is a different
who's more free market, Lenin, Stalin, or Marx?
Or Hitler?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is. So, but because Marine Le Pen, her policies are more socialistic than his, but on the other hand, he really is like a boy that he went to a school that's basically designed or that has educated presidents of the past that for grooming the French presidents. And then he went to go work for Goldman Sachs, where he was a total failure, but just to kind of get his, I guess, name onto one of the most evil corporations in the world for his own personal gain. And he may be okay in terms of economics, but that sort of stuff sort of turns me sour to him.
All right, well, this should be interesting to see how this 9 gigabytes pans out. I'm sure the folks over at 4chan are crowdsourcing this as we speak and digging through for the juiciest bits, and I imagine that there will be plenty of juicy bits because all kinds of politicians have all manner of skeletons hanging in their closet, and it's only a matter of time before that information comes out. And this may sink him, right? Like this, some of this information in there could sink whatever chances he had to win that election, just in the same way that Hillary Clinton was harmed by the release of the information that WikiLeaks put out about her during the election, showing that she basically scammed the Democratic nomination. Which is what a lot of people had speculated about, and turns out it was true, and that hurt her. And so maybe this will guarantee that Le Pen will win, and that France might move towards a exit from the EU.
Yeah, well, and the En Marche movement, which is the party that he's the head of, they've said that some of the documents are real, and some of the documents are falsified, with the goal of sowing doubt and disinformation. Which to me sounds like another way of stating that anything that's potentially damaging can be claimed to be fake, and all the good stuff can be authentic.
Yep, that's all true. Mark, anything else you want to share tonight?
No, that's good.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Let's talk to Tom. He's in New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know if I think I never mentioned this to you people before, but this story that back in 2012, when I was looking at my web server stats. Now, when you visit a website and you click on a link, your browser tells the remote server what kind of browser it is, what language it is, what version, what operating system, and also the URL of the referring page. So when it's Google and you click on a link, your server learns the search terms that were put into Google because those are up in that URL.
That's right.
But in this case, it was a website that was featuring Republican candidates for president, and they put a picture of each one on there. And in this case, it was image source equals and the address of a picture of Ron Paul on one of my websites.
Okay.
Which they're not supposed to do. That's deep linking. And so I thought about what am I going to do as a libertarian? How do I handle this?
So just to clarify for listeners here, somebody was linking to a photo of Ron Paul that you were hosting on your website. They were linking to that or embedding it on their website, which means that they were using your server. This is bad etiquette for hosting. They were using your server to serve a photo, so their server didn't have to serve it, which means that if, let's say, there was a huge, popularity boom for that particular page. Let's say that page went viral, and all of a sudden 1 million people go and try to download that picture. Your server may not be configured to handle that. You might go past your data limit. You might go, crash the server, whatever. And so basically, it's sort of an unintentional attack almost, or it can be on your servers. That's what you're saying happened, right?
This is correct, and they also are up against what if they just download that picture and put it on their website? What about copyright laws? So I thought about this, and so I emailed the webmaster and says that this means every time somebody visits your page, it counts as a hit on my server, which distorts my stats. It also means that I could replace that image with something you might not want to display on your web page. And so, by the way, if you want a public domain picture of Ron Paul, you can download it from his congressional website, and I provided them with a link. And then I got a reply saying that they just did not know where to get a public domain image of Ron Paul, and they're going to go ahead and use that, which is very believable.
Oh, so you didn't actually change the image? I thought you were going to tell us you changed the image to something offensive. That would have been much more fun.
But what I've been getting at, though...
All right, hold on. We'll get to what you're getting at here coming up with Tom. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Do you know what's lurking in your water? More than 200 contaminants could be sitting there, just waiting for your glass. With a ProPure water filter, start enjoying clean and great-tasting water today. ProPure filters, independently tested, latest water filter technology. ProPure systems do not require electricity and are easy to set up and easy to use. To find out more, visit your authorized ProPure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Free Talk Live.
You're privileged to drive the road. You must follow the law.
No, I don't have to.
And you're going to make you're going to double park and you're going to make a left-hand turn in front of a cop?
Can I respond to you here, Barbara?
Go right ahead.
I'm not going to run a red light in front of a cop because he has a gun and is willing to hurt me, but I've run plenty of...
Wrong. He's not going to hurt you. He's going to give you a ticket.
Oh, but if I decide not to pull over, what will he do?
Well, you're not obeying the law.
Barbara, I don't obey arbitrary words written down by strangers. I obey natural law, Barbara. That means if I do something, I expect consequences will come from that, sometimes good, sometimes bad.
You run a red light, somebody comes around and you kill him.
I would never run a red light like that. When I run a red light, I stop first, look around, make sure no one is in danger, and then I go through.
Oh, you are such a phony.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Juicy Juice, 100% juice, providing a full serving of fruit in every 4 ounces. Visit us at juicyjuice.com. When it comes to nutrition, kids need both fruits and vegetables every day to stay healthy and grow. For the ideal mix, your kid should have at least 1.5 cups of any veggie or 100% veggie juice and 1 cup of any fruit or 100% fruit juice a day. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio on demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can dial toll-free and join us here. Our number, it's 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. If you support Free Talk Live, you like what we're doing here 7 nights a week, live on over 165 radio stations coast to coast, on, of course, online, via podcast, internet streaming, lots of different ways to listen. Satellite, we've got LRN.FM, so there's lots of cool ways to get tuned in to Free Talk Live. If you like what we're doing, though, please get behind the show for $5 a month. Or Bitcoin. It's up to you how you support Free Talk Live. And you can do it over at amp.freetalklive.com, where you can get signed up with PayPal, credit card, Bitcoin. And that $5 is invested into Free Talk Live so we can market the show more effectively to other radio stations. Like I said, we got more than 160 stations, but we could have 200, 300, 400. It's possible. There's hundreds of talk stations out there.
And if we counted the same way most radio shows do, we could say we've been added to over 300 radio stations.
We could, and that would be a true statement. But a lot of those stations have changed their format or gone out of business or, for some reason removed Free Talk Live from their lineup. So we try to actually be really accurate with our affiliates list. Unlike everyone else in the syndicated radio business, almost all the other shows out there, they only kind of take note when a station gets added, and then they forget to remove a station when it drops off their list.
Right.
So yeah, we really are on over 160
we noticed
stations.
that whenever we wind up getting news that this radio show is going away, we find an affiliates list.
Right.
Sometimes it's
from their own website.
On their website. And then you go through, and it's like, wait, these call letters don't exist anymore.
Right, or they're a music station.
They changed call signals and format 7 years ago.
Yeah, you're not making that up. That happens all the time. A lot of times these other radio shows, half of their stations on their list will be inaccurate and old and outdated.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're doing pretty good, all things considered, considering our very small budget that we have here. And it's given by you. The AMP program is created to allow you to support the show directly. You get perks. You get some cool bonuses like access to the AMP-only call-in lines, the AMP-only podcast, which doesn't have the regular commercials our normal podcast does, and also the AMP-only Facebook group, which is a cool way to connect with other Free Talk Live listeners and hosts of the show. So these are great ways for you to interact and get involved with Free Talk Live, but also support what we're doing. Support the message of liberty, support the message of peace, and getting that out there as far and as wide as possible. Arguably, dollar for dollar, we're probably the most effective method of spreading the ideas of liberty out there. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great libertarian think tanks that write great books, but, not everybody likes to read.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people like to listen to audio entertainment.
Yes.
And, dollar for dollar, we're bringing new people to the ideas of liberty every single day, every week here on Free Talk Live. So please get behind the show and get all those perks over at amp.freetalklive.com. And we're going to continue here with your calls and thoughts. Let's go back to Tom. He's in New Hampshire. And Tom, you were telling us you run a website. Somebody was linking to a Ron Paul photo that you host on your site, which was, of course, resulting in them using your server to serve that picture rather than using their own server to serve that picture. And that's bad etiquette for the internet. So unless, of course, you're using a picture hosting website. So like if you use a site
like
that's
Imgur.
Yeah, one of those kind of sites.
Yeah.
But to just link to somebody's blog that has a picture on it is bad. It's kind of bad karma for the internet. And so you reached out to the webmaster of this website that was linking to you without your permission, and you said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I noticed this. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop. And here's a link to a royalty-free picture of Ron Paul that you can use from Ron Paul's own website." And you were going to tell us more, so go ahead, Tom.
That I didn't go to the government, first of all.
Good point.
Because I don't have to. I used to first always think of how not to go to the government on every little thing. Don't go running to mommy and daddy at the web hosting company either. It was a matter of, first of all, giving them the link. What more could they ask for if they didn't have a public domain picture of Ron Paul? Okay, I'll give them one, so they got no bone to pick with me. I just don't want my server stats to be distorted.
Yep.
And I gave them the link that they need, and they got. I got no bone to pick with them. They were afraid of copyright laws if they went ahead and deep linked to a picture and actually loaded it onto their server, which would violate some copyright laws if there was a copyright involved in it, which there is not. So I was thinking, I don't go to the web hosting company either. It's going by something I would have every right to do with my own private property, and it's playing nicely with the other children in the sandbox at the same time is the way I like to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, that was nice of you because, like you pointed out, you could have changed the photo. So if the link was your website /ronpaul.jpg, you could have changed ronpaul.jpg. You could have had the same name file, but you could have put up something, let's say, pornographic or offensive or, gory or whatever. You could have put something like that in its place. It would have changed whatever their story was to have that picture in it, which, of course, would have been entirely inappropriate for whoever it was that was expecting to see what was there. And that would have been a way that they probably would never have even noticed unless somebody reported it to them. And it's kind of that's kind of a way to get someone back who does that to your website. But you took the high road and you reached out to them and let them know. Good job on that one, Tom. Thanks for the call and thanks for sharing the story tonight. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to N on the line. N. Thomas on Skype.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, fantastic.
Hey.
Where are you calling from tonight, N. Thomas?
Well, once again, I'm calling from Peru.
Oh,
I'm
excellent.
an expatriate here in Peru.
Excellent. All right.
And I called before, and I took your advice about my attempts to protect the local fruit vendors from the municipal domination they were suffering. And it really worked out well. Instead of trying to play tug of war, I used my camera. And hey, Ian, thank you.
So what happened?
Really,
I mean, you're going to have to recap briefly what exactly was going on because I don't even remember all the details.
Well, there's a big movement in Peru to get people into what they like to call the formal economy. The economy where you pay for a license and you pay taxes and people from the city come by every day and collect a few cents from you for just being there.
Mm-hmm.
Or where you can simply harvest your crop, put a wheelbarrow in your truck, come down to the city, sell a whole bunch of it at wholesale and sell a little bit at retail and make some walking around money.
Okay.
Basically, which I think is a really great aspect. I get beautiful fresh fruit all year long. I prefer to buy from them, and I think that their ability to sell that kind of fruit on the street is a true expression of a free agora.
Sure. Anybody who can sell stuff without asking government permission, they're in the agora. They're in the market, the free market.
Yep.
Exactly. And even more important than that, I think, is that people have access to the market and they feel and they see that they have upward mobility.
So what happened with bureaucrats coming down, you with a video camera? What exactly transpired there?
Well, before I would play tug of war with them, and you kind of warned me on a previous call, hey, look, you're going to get your ass kicked by the police, and I did.
Okay.
And so I decided that probably the videotaping would be the best idea.
And you're recording, just to be clear, your video recording what? The police trying to extract, or bureaucrats trying to extract funds from these roadside fruit vendors?
Exactly. Okay. And then also they have, supposedly under the law here, if you're a public employee, you must identify yourself.
All right.
To anyone who asks. So what I've been doing is I've just been approaching anyone who has a public job in Peru must identify themselves to a member of the public.
Okay. And I presume that there's also some semblance of freedom of the press there, because in a lot of places, you might not even be able to record government bureaucrats.
Well, there's freedom of the press here, but the press is owned by one company.
Let's hear more about that, if you don't mind. Stand by, N. Thomas. He's with us here from Peru. On the line on Skype, and you can join us there as well. The Skype username is lrn.fm, and Kallen Diggs is here from Reaching the Finish Line. Just spent like a year and a half in Mexico, so I'm wondering if you can weigh in here as well. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com recently reported Bitcoin transaction fees have increased by more than 1,200% since 2015. To many Bitcoin proponents, the current fee market is moving way too fast, making Bitcoin unusable for certain transactions. The fee market and slow confirmation times have also increased the tension concerning the block size debate. However, if there are wallets with low amounts of Bitcoin that can't cover the fees, they become virtually unspendable. Learn more at news.bitcoin.com. That's news.bitcoin.com.
Do you need a website for your blog or new business? It can be pretty intimidating on your own, and that's why Free Talk Live has partnered with HostGator, one of the top hosting companies. HostGator offers a simple, one-click, easy installation for WordPress, 24/7 over-the-phone or live chat tech support, and a very intuitive, user-friendly control panel that puts the power of creation back into your hands. Go to HostGator.com/FTL, and you'll get 50% off of their regular hosting prices. 50% off. HostGator.com/FTL.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Angioprim can unclog blocked arteries and improve blood flow in all parts of your body. Angioprim is oral chelation. Easy, simple, liquid oral chelation. You take it with juice before breakfast and forget about it. Angioprim works fast, unlike old-fashioned chelation that takes hours. Just log on to angioprim.com. That's Angioprim, A-N-G-I-O-P-R-I-M, angioprim.com. Angioprim users say they have more energy, more strength, more endurance. Increased circulation and blood flow will make all your body parts work better. Log on to angioprim.com to get more information on how you can get started and start feeling better, having fun, and doing more again. Lots more. Talk to a trained Angioprim consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221. Or log on for complete information. Angioprim.com. That's Angioprim.com. Find out how Angioprim can work for you. Get the facts about Angioprim at Angioprim.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. Saveitpurse.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Moments remain. Enough time for you if you dial in right now. We can get you on the air, and you can talk about whatever you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype, and you can Skype in here at username lrn.fm. In fact, that's where we're going to go back to here. We've got a gentleman on the line in Peru. And Kallen Diggs, by the way, in the studio with us here tonight, special guest host from reachingthefinishline.com. You've spent some time expatriating. You've been in Mexico for about a year and a half. You did a quick visit down to Peru. So let's bring N. Thomas back on here. N. Thomas, you wanted to come to the aid of some of the fruit vendors that you'll see on the side of the road there in Peru. Who've been harassed and threatened by government bureaucrats or people claiming to be government bureaucrats who are extracting money from these folks for the privilege of being able to be on the side of the road selling fruit, fresh fruit. And you decided you wanted to help with that. You got into some hot water with the police and ultimately decided that you wanted to take a different approach, which was to record video of these, these harassments or these attempted extractions. And you were telling us more about that, so go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like your advice and watching Cop Block and stuff like that really kind of showed me that sometimes shame really is a powerful motivator. My last video that I posted on Twitter, you can see it on the stream for Municipalidad de Lima and Municipalidad de Puente Piedra in Peru. If you look at both of those places, you can see that I simply walked up to the guy and said, "Hey, are you proud of what you just did? Do you feel happy about that?" Because what they had done was a woman with a 3-year-old child was selling hard-boiled quail eggs, a popular street dish here in Peru, and quite delicious. I enjoy them often. And he ran her off. And I know for a fact that what she did is she had to pay money to rent the cart. She had to buy the eggs and get water and all of that and get out on the street, boil the eggs up fresh and show them off to the people. And now all her money was gone. So how is she going to support that child?
You say you're in Lima, right, N. Thomas?
Exactly.
Yeah. It was so interesting. I've spent a little time in Peru, but I lived in South America for 9 months in Ecuador, and then Mexico. So a good portion of Latin America. And what I found that is a lot of these big cities like Lima and South Mexico City, they're very, very into government regulation, into controlling how people make money. But when you go outside of these huge metro areas, like maybe smaller Mexican cities or Panamanian, Peruvian cities, less than 100,000 people, like down there in those type of Latin American countries, it's literally a free market. It's literally like you can just set up a business and you won't have no government intervention.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is like that. The problem is that they try to enforce their will and their domination on people, and I've seen it where people have attempted to start a business of some kind, and their very first contact with the government is when guys with guns show up to tell them, "Hey, you can't have a business." But you're right. Outside of the big metropolitan areas, you are free.
So you came up to this bureaucrat who had harassed the woman selling the eggs. What happened?
Well, I filmed him first. I filmed him chasing her off. And then once she was gone, I walked up to him and I asked him in Spanish, "Estás orgulloso de que has hecho?" Are you proud of what you have done? Can you identify yourself? And he refused to answer both of the questions.
That suggests that he wasn't proud of what he did.
Now here,
I would definitely say from the look on his face that he was not proud. And who would be proud of that?
I'm sure there's a psychopath.
Yeah, he's a young man. He was a young man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was maybe 24 tops.
Here in New Hampshire, I've seen before where people have asked an officer to identify themselves, and they'll say, "My name's Officer Smith. What's your first name?" "I told you, officer."
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Oh man.
So he scurried. Did he scurry away? Sad. I mean, what did he do? Get in a car and drive off?
He did. He immediately crossed the street, and I've had the same experience. After that, I approached his supervisor and I asked his supervisor to identify himself. He refused to do so. I followed him for 3 blocks, asking him, very politely in the high register of Spanish, if he would please identify himself and where he was going and why he did not answer my questions. And he would not do so. They literally ran away from me. And the beauty of this is that
I love it.
Not that I have done that, but now the fruit vendors realize that, you know what, they can do that too.
Really?
So it's not so much that, because now they're going to get their cell phones out too.
Nice. I love it.
Now they're not afraid. Now they're not so afraid.
Well, I'm glad to see that, as kind of the gringo, you've had the ability to have an impact there, because I always, questioned, are you able to actually have an impact as somebody who's not from around there?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you stick your head up too high here in the U.S., you're going to get it cut off, and I suspect that's true in any country. So
yes.
I would still say beware. You may be riding high right now, but when the Lima police show up and decide to trump up a charge against you for going after their buddies in the Department of Licensing or whatever, just beware that there may be further consequences down the road for this. But it is you're doing great work.
Well, thank you. And in that vein, I do have 30 videos of members of Peruvian police taking bribes. I have photos of them doing that. I have videos of them doing that saved on a server outside of this country. But you know what? Things could take a turn, and I could be just the first person who gets gunned down in front of a trench.
Well, keep us in the loop as this develops. And Thomas,
well, I hope not. I hope not too. But I like to tell you guys that I left the United States when Bush was elected the second time. I basically gave up. I'm a conscientious objector since the age of 18.
Nice.
I was a member of the Libertarian Party in 1991. I worked really hard on getting libertarian sheriffs elected in Colorado and in Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got to the point when Bush won the second time when I thought, this is hopeless. It's never going to get better here. People are just becoming more belligerent. And I don't know if I made the right decision or not. I live here now, and I'm happy that I expatriated myself, because I feel like here, at least if it's not a win all over the world, at least here, maybe people will start to stand up a little bit more for themselves as individuals.
Well, as long as you feel good about what your decision was, I think then you've made the right choice. And thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. Of course, as we pointed out here a myriad of times, there is still hope in the United States, and it's in New Hampshire.
Yes.
For I don't blame anybody for calling it quits and saying this is a scary thing. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, these are scary people. Barack Obama, Bush, all of them. It's definitely DC is a terrible place, and they're doing horrible things to people. And there's anytime they want to, they can definitely target any one of us. But all that said, I think there's real hope for freedom in New Hampshire already. Of all the 50 states, the freest of the states, including all the rest of them. If you go to the Freedom in the 50 States study, you can read more about that. It's a great in-depth study that looks at a bunch of different statistics and numbers, and found that New Hampshire was the freest of those states. So already number one, so we're at a good starting point to have a bunch of liberty people, a bunch of libertarians and voluntarists and liberty-loving anarchists coming in here and taking action and making a difference. We're seeing it work. We're seeing that happen with only just a couple thousand people having moved here. There are thousands more who are planning to migrate here to New Hampshire, and that's only going to make things better. Cognitive Dissident is on the line on Skype. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hello.
Hey, you're on the air.
I had a question about the non-aggression principle and nuclear bombs.
All right, go quick, real fast.
Do you think that nuclear bombs violate the non-aggression principle?
You mean the possession of a nuclear weapon?
Yes.
Just because things can go wrong with it, it could, if something goes wrong, decimate a good portion.
How could you use it? How could you use it without violating?
Defensively, yeah. That's a really interesting question, and I wish we had more than 10 seconds to talk about it. So I would like to invite you to call back any other night. Call earlier in the show. It's easier to get in pretty much Sunday through Friday, and let's talk about that in great detail because we don't have time tonight. But I appreciate it, and I think there's a strong argument that those things are a violation of the non-aggression principle. So we'll see you tomorrow online. In the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, May 5th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.35 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,231 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 2.5 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,576. Antiwar.com reports in a move officials say is a strong message against North Korea. The House on Thursday voted 419-1 to pass the Korean Interdiction and Modernization of Sanctions Act. Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky was the lone opponent of the bill. The bill, in practice, does virtually nothing as the U.S. already bans virtually all commerce with North Korea. Indeed, this bill threatens people who indirectly do business with North Korea, though again, most of them have already been sanctioned long ago, and anyone who uses exported North Korean slaves, which at this point it's not clear that's even a thing. This may not be a problem anyhow, since the act only goes into effect if the Senate passes a companion bill, and so far one is not even contemplated, let alone introduced or scheduled to be voted upon. The move appears to be wholly symbolic. Trump administration officials have talked up the idea of imposing more sanctions on North Korea in recent weeks, in addition to threatening to unilaterally attack them. Such moves have become increasingly difficult after decades of previous sanctions covered all the good stuff, and in the past few years, officials had to settle for bans on selling things like ski equipment to the North Korean government. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order seeking to ease the enforcement of rules prohibiting tax-exempt religious institutions from involvement in politics. At the White House Rose Garden, flanked by religious leaders and White House officials, Trump said, "We are giving our churches their voices back." Trump signed the order called Promoting Free Speech and Religious Liberty, which promises to protect and vigorously promote religious liberty. The order also directs federal agencies to exempt some religious organizations, such as churches, charities, and universities, from mandates under the Affordable Care Act that require employers to provide employees with health coverage for contraception. Trump's executive order will give the IRS discretion on whether to enforce the Johnson Amendment, a U.S. tax code provision implemented in 1954 that prohibits most nonprofits from participating in political activity. The executive order will leave it up to the IRS to determine who to punish for possible Johnson Amendment violations. In February, during the National Prayer Breakfast, Trump promised to get rid of and totally destroy the Johnson Amendment and to allow our representatives of faith to speak freely and without fear of retribution. Johnson Amendment violations can result in revocation of a group's tax-exempt status and an excise tax liability. Republicans have tried for years to repeal the Johnson Amendment, arguing that it hinders freedom of speech. A repeal of the provision requires approval from Congress. Mark Burns, a pastor who is a longtime supporter of Trump, told NBC News that Trump signing the order made it a great day for religious freedom in America. In 2115 New England, there are no borders, no states, and no regulations, yet never has a more peaceful and prosperous place existed. But Mr. Drake's security company has seen better days. Faced with the prospect of waning power, Mr. Drake intends to replace the anarchy of New England with a government. Anarchy in New England by Joe Jarvis is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports Delta Airlines apologized on Thursday to customers who were forced off its flight last month and said it would refund them and provide additional compensation. A video was posted online by Brian Shear on Wednesday claiming that Delta booted him off a flight along with his wife and 2 infants due to overbooking. The company said in a statement on Thursday, "We are sorry for the unfortunate experience our customers had with Delta. The flight was departing from Maui to Los Angeles on April 23rd. This comes nearly a month after United Continental Holdings sparked outrage for dragging a passenger by the hands out of an overbooked flight. However, the airline reached a settlement with the passenger last month. Following the United incident, Southwest Airlines said it would stop overbooking its flights. American Airlines also experienced its own public relations fiasco last month when a video went viral showing an onboard clash over a baby stroller. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. In light of reports this week of a Russian crime ring stealing 1.2 billion user